Hey guys, how are you all? Welcome back to my channel. Today we will see what if Naruto Banished heritage revealed. If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments. The wind blew through Konoha, making the leaves dance. It was sunset and the bustle from the shop owners could be heard as they were closing for the day. Unknown to the villagers, there was a silent observer. He was not trying to hide his presence, it was something that occurred every day since he was born. He was invisible, but not by choice. As he sat in his favorite spot atop the Hokages, he silently pondered. Both his brain and his heart were trying to absorb what he had just learned. To say that it was an overload was the understatement of the year. The Godem Hokage, Lady Tsunade herself, just dropped a bomb on Naruto. She had just explained to him about his heritage. She told him everything he had always wanted to know. He had known for some time now what was sealed away in his belly. He also knew that it was the legendary 4th Hokage who had sealed away the Kyuubi. Naruto also knew why it was done. Secretly, he was proud that he could protect his village and all those who were precious to him. But he was sad because no one saw him for what he was meant to be, a hero. Not that it really mattered to Naruto, personally he was used to being ignored and hated. It saddened him because it dishonored the 4th's wishes. His father's wishes. Naruto had lived his life thus far thinking that he never had any family who loved him. But now he knew that he was loved very much. He knew that his mother and father had wanted their son. They had not abandoned him like he had always feared. He was only 12, still too young to claim his father's title as the last Namikaze. Not that the council would let him near that title until he proved himself to them. Naruto indeed had a lot to think about. His future was unclear right now. He had to make some important choices to make at a young age. He sighed and thought to himself, I don't know why this bothers me. I'm used to being on my own. Earlier that day, Tsunade had not only revealed who his parents were, but she also told him about her meeting with the council. Naruto, along with Kiba Inuzuka, Neji Hyuga, Shikamaru Nara, Choji Akamichi, and Rock Lee had returned from their mission to retrieve Sasuke Uchiha the day before. The mission had been a failure. When the council had been informed about the fight that had taken place between Naruto and Sasuke, they had been furious to say the least. As always, the blame was cast on Naruto and Naruto only. Even with the protest of the others, nothing could shake the council. They saw it as a direct attack against their last precious Uchiha. They seemed to ignore the fact that he was now a missing nin. They were more concerned about his bloodline limit and nothing else. Lady Tsunade had done her best to try and protect Minato's boy. A boy she loved as her own. But the best she could do was let Naruto choose his fate. He could either be forced out by Anbu, in exile, or leave with honor and remain on friendly terms with the Leaf, and be allowed back from time to time. However small it was, he wanted his honor. Word spread like wildfire through the streets of Konoha. The demon brat was leaving. Naruto was given 3 days to collect his belongings and leave the village quietly. There wasn't much that he wanted to bring with him. There were a few pictures, some scrolls, clothes, whatever ninja gear he had left, and a few cups of instant ramen. With his few modest belongings packed into his travel bag, he exited his tiny apartment that the 3rd Hokage had helped him get, and made his way to the front gates. Naruto didn't tell his friends when he was leaving. He didn't know if he could handle the goodbyes of the few precious people he had. But as the gates came into view, he saw a crowd of people waiting for him. In the crowd stood Neji, Tenten, Lee, Kiba, Ino, Hinata, Choji, Shikamaru, Shino, Guy, Tsunade, Shizune, Iruka, Kakashi, and a very sad-looking Sakura. Naruto was a little shocked when he didn't see Jiraiya as well. An overwhelming sense of sadness was in the air as Naruto approached the group. As glad as I am that you all have come to see me off, I wish you wouldn't have, Naruto sighed. This makes leaving so much harder. Like we wouldn't come to see you, Naruto, we will all miss you. Tsunade said as she stepped forward and embraced him in a massive hug. Oi, Ba-chan, I can't breathe. Naruto managed to yelp out. You keep calling me that and you won't be able to walk, brat. She said in a playful tone as she released him so he could continue on down the line. Keep in touch, Naruto. When you come back I will treat you to some ramen. Iruka said. Thanks, Iruka-sensei. Naruto replied with a small smile. Man, I can't believe this. Kiba said. He stuck his hand out and shook Naruto's. Me either, Kiba. Naruto replied as he moved on. Ino hugged him. Behave yourself. I'll try. He somehow managed to force out one of his famous foxy grins. Shino shook his hand and nodded his head in true Shino fashion. After all, he was a ninja of few words and Naruto had accepted this. He was grateful for the bug ninja's presence. Hinata, who could usually not speak in front of him in happy times, could only sob on his shoulder. Which was very bold for the shy Kunoichi, but she couldn't contain her sorrow. I am sorry Naruto, this is a sad day for the Leaf, whether they know it or not. Neji said as he bowed in respect. Knowing the Hyuga, he bowed back. Thank you, Neji. Not knowing exactly what to say, Tenten hugged Naruto and gave him a package. I thought you could use them. My dad just made them. So, they are nice and sharp. Naruto opened the package to see a dozen new kunai. He smiled gratefully. Ah, the best in the Leaf. Thank you Tenten. He stowed them in his kunai pouch behind him. When he reached Lee and Guy, it wasn't much of a shocker to see the two embraced with tears streaming from their eyes. Everyone at the gate's sweat dropped at the sight. Naruto sighed, some things just won't change. He quietly sidestepped the two who were mumbling about the flames of youth. Shikamaru just sighed and shook his head. Troublesome. He extended his hand to Naruto. For once, I completely agree Shikamaru. Naruto smiled as he accepted the shadow ninja's hand. Choji was steady munching on some chips when Naruto approached. He looked at the bag he was eating and sighed. I'm sorry Naruto. I brought these here for you. But we were waiting for so long and… Don't worry man, I understand. It's the thought that counts. Naruto shrugged it off. Kakashi and Sakura were last. As always Kakashi was reading his orange book. He sighed and put it away. Naruto, I know you will be alright. And even though you aren't a Leaf Shinobi, don't forget you are one nevertheless. Naruto looked his old sensei in his eye. Thank you sensei. Kakashi crinkled his eye. He thought to himself, ah, sensei, what would you think about this if you knew? Finally he reached Sakura. The both looked at the ground. Naruto spoke first. Sakura, I'm sorry that I couldn't bring him home to you. Sakura launched herself at Naruto and flung her arms around his neck and started to sob. Naruto stood there dumbfounded. He thought she hated him. Sakura? He questioned. It's not fair. She cried, first I lose Sasuke-kun, now you too. What will I do without my team? Naruto squeezed her in return and said softly to her, you'll survive. You have too. And I know you will. Train hard and bring him back. With that, he let go of her and walked out the gate. He forced himself not to look back. Naruto walked the path away from Konoha slowly. He wasn't really sure where he would go. Maybe the land of waves? He thought to himself. After all, he was not hated there. He could even visit with Tazuna and his family. He hadn't seen Inari and Tsunami in a long time. Maybe he would even stop and pay his respect to Zabuza and Haku at their graves. As he was walking he felt another's presence. He continued walking as if he didn't notice. It was better to not let on. Slowly he reached in his kunai pouch and grabbed one of his brand new kunai. Remembering what Kakashi had said, he would always be a ninja. He took aim and flung his kunai at his unknown guest. He heard the thud when the kunai made contact with a tree. He ran into the bushes to see a white-haired man sitting at the bottom of the tree shocked, with a kunai just barely touching the top of his long hair. And they call you one of the legendary Sannin? You are losing your edge pervy sage. Naruto exclaimed. Nonsense. If I didn't want to be noticed, you wouldn't have. Jiraiya replied. Yeah, sure. Now, why are you following me? Asked Naruto. What? I can't visit my favorite student? Oh, I didn't think that I was still your student since I'm not longer a Leaf Shinobi. Well that makes no sense at all. I determine who I teach, when I teach and for how long. No one can tell me otherwise. So how about it kid? Up for some training? Jiraiya asked with a sly grin. You bet pervy sage. Will you ever stop calling me that? He asked as his sweat dropped. Nope, get used to it old man. Naruto laughed as Jiraiya sighed. The two continued down the road for some time. Both seemed to be lost in thought. Finally, Naruto broke the silence. Sensei? He questioned. Taken back by the formality, he knew the young blonde was serious. Yes? How did you know to find me? I thought you were on a mission gathering information about the Akatsuki. Yeah I was. But when Tsunade told you about everything, she thought I should know. So she contacted me, and I came back for you. Jiraiya stated. I don't get it. Why did she think you should know? Asked Naruto. Well, I asked her too. Whenever she felt it was time to tell you about Minato and Kushina, I wanted to know. Naruto looked up at him baffled. Why? Well, it's because there is a little more information. But I thought that you should hear it from me. Jiraiya stopped, he was unsure of how to continue. Well, what is it? Asked Naruto. I don't know if you know this or not, but your dad and I were closer than student and pupil. I looked at him like he was a friend and a son. When I found out that he and Kushina were expecting, I was so happy for them. I wish you could have known them. They were brilliant ninjas and damn good people. They were so excited about having you. He looked down at his traveling companion and smiled. Naruto's eyes glistened as he listened and learned about his parents. Tsunade told you about the night Kyuubi attacked and about your parents. But I told her to let me tell you about your godfather. Naruto's eyes widened and he stopped in his tracks. What, godfather? Who? He managed to spit out. Jiraiya stopped as well. He turned and bent down eye to eye with Naruto. It was then that Naruto noticed that the Sennin had a tear in his eye. Me, he said softly, hoping that Naruto wouldn't be angry for him not being more of a part of his life. Naruto just stood there with his mouth open. It was clear that he was shocked to hear the man's revelation. There were so many emotions going through his mind that he couldn't even manage to speak. Jiraiya understood and placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder. How about we make camp here so we can talk? I'm sure there is much you want to discuss. Naruto nodded and followed Jiraiya away from the road. After all, there was much to discuss and it was better done away from the road. There were still many people who hated Minato Namikaze. If anyone ever knew of his son, Naruto's life would be in far more danger. The two set up camp a fair distance away from the road. Jiraiya made a small fire and sat down next to Naruto. They sat in silence for what seemed like forever. Naruto stared into the fire. Jiraiya finally decided to speak up. Naruto, look, he began. Why? Naruto asked softly. Huh? Why now? Where have you been? Naruto asked. Naruto, you know where I have been. No, that's not what I meant. Of course I know where you have been. Naruto interrupted. I can't make up for not being there. For the longest time I thought you being in the leaf was what's best for me. Naruto blurted, please don't tell me that's what you were going to say. Because having people hate me like that is by no means right, fair, deserved, or what's best for you. Naruto, I know that now. Please let me finish. I hope things will be a bit clearer. Jiraiya pleaded. You're not the only one. Naruto said sarcastically. Jiraiya raised an eyebrow and continued. You know where I have been and what I have been doing. Bringing you into that wouldn't have been safe. I know you know who your father is, but do you really understand who he was? What do you mean understand? He was Minato Namikaze, the fourth Hokage and the Yellow Flash. Naruto replied like he was reading out of a textbook. That's what I mean. You don't understand. Well, enlighten me, old man. Naruto said as his temper started to flare. No respect, but that's another day. Jiraiya sighed. He could tell that Naruto was upset. Hell, he had every right to be upset. Your father was a feared ninja. He was a deadly man. A man that was hated. Hated? He was hated? Like me? Naruto looked shocked. Well, yes and no. Sadly, you were hated by your village. He was hated by almost everyone else. At the revelation that his father was hated, Naruto for once felt closer to him. A man that he knew by legend and could spit out all the textbook answers to any question asked. He never knew that he was hated. Naruto knew that it was different. But for a boy all alone, at that moment, it felt all the same. So why was my father hated? He asked. People who have obtained great power also obtain much attention and many enemies. He was feared by all and hated by those who survived his attacks. Even the families of the ninja who had fallen hated him. They all wanted revenge against the great Yellow Flash. I understand that, but what does that have to do with me and why you weren't there? Even in death, Minato Namikaze was a name to be feared. You know, his looks aren't the only thing that you have inherited from him. If it was known that his child, your life would have been threatened. Many countries would have paid large bounties for the head of Minato's son. So, as shitty as it was, Leaf was the safest place for me? Naruto sadly asked. Well, yes, Jiraiya said. Sarutobi-sensei tried his hardest to keep you safe and happy. With your father gone, he became the Hokage again. If he were to keep you like he wanted, it would have been like painting a bullseye on you. It wouldn't have taken people long to put two and two together. That old man had a major soft spot for you. Yeah, I remember Gigi visiting me all the time. I wish I could have lived with him. Maybe my life would have been a bit more normal. Naruto thought out loud. Hey, I know you are going to think that this is a crock, but what you went through has made you one hell of a kid, and starting tomorrow, I'm going to make you one hell of a ninja. Really? Naruto asked. Yes, and if you ever tell anyone about this, I'll deny it. I have to keep my reputation up for the ladies. But I'm proud of you, Naruto, and happy to have the heir to the Namikaze clan as my travel companion and student. Jiraiya said with a smile. Naruto looked at him with a huge foxy grin. Ah, you aren't getting soft on me, are you? The two began to laugh. The following morning, Naruto woke to find his sensei missing. Knowing Jiraiya, Naruto had no problem figuring out where he was and what he was doing. He shook his head. Ah, pervy sage. Why'd I always get stuck with camp cleanup? Naruto whined as he started to pick up the campsite. On their trip to find Tsunade, Jiraiya had taught him how to properly put the site back so that it seemed like one was there. As a ninja, it was very important to not leave a trail. It didn't take him long to clear the site. He sat for a while waiting for the toad sage to make his appearance. He began to get a little restless. So, he decided to work on his Rasengan. Without the fox, he still needed a clone to make the Rasengan. He wanted to do his father proud, so he decided that his goal would be a one-handed Rasengan. Jiraiya was watching Naruto from a tree. He hadn't been lying about hiding himself when he didn't want to be found. He watched on as Naruto, in all his glory and hyperness, blew through his chakra reserves trying to manipulate his chakra in his hand. He came close a few times, but it was obvious that Naruto needed to learn how to focus more. He needed to learn how to direct his energy. Jiraiya descended from his tree and silently approached the extremely tired orange-clad ninja. Now, he yelled, causing Naruto to jump out of his skin. What would happen if I was an enemy? Naruto sat up and placed his hands on the back of his head and laughed. You'd be screwed, he replied and grinned ear to ear, and a clone held a kunai to the Senin's throat. Ah, I see. Jiraiya poofed out of existence. The two of him appeared behind Naruto as both said, two can play that game. Naruto's sweat dropped at his sensei's attempt at humor. Jiraiya and his clone rolled around on the ground laughing until there was only one, the real Jiraiya, left. He wiped a tear from his eye and stood. All the humor was gone from his face. Naruto, I was watching you. And while I am glad that you took initiative and were trying to practice, you still need more control. You have come leaps and bounds, but if you were to ever claim your title as Namikaze, you need to bust your ass even more. Naruto started at Jiraiya. Do you really thinking I can? Will Konoha let me? By the time I'm done with you, I don't care if they let you because you will be able to take it. Naruto seemed to be revived by his sensei's words and jumped up and down pumping his fist. Look out, Konoha. I'll be back for what is mine whether you like it or not. Believe it. Jiraiya sighed. He couldn't help but wonder where the kid stored all of his energy. Now Naruto, you must be able to be one with the forces around you. I hid my chakra from you today, but you should have known I was there. You need to feel other chakra with your own. To do this you must be calm and centered. You must focus on what is around you and what is in you. You must meditate. This is where our training will begin. I will do the same thing and you will tell me what you sense and I will check it. Understand? Yes, Jiraiya sensei. They sat on the forest floor, crossed their legs and began their mediation. Jiraiya noticed a change in Naruto right away. He was serious. His mind was focused. He could feel Naruto sending his chakra in small bits. Little did Jiraiya know at the time, this was the beginning of a new Naruto. Naruto no longer thought of himself as Naruto Uzumaki, he was now the last Namikaze. It had been 1 week since Naruto left the leaf. On the outside, things seemed to continue on with no problems. The council thought that what they had done was a good thing. They thought that they had won. They knew that Naruto had but a few people who were close to him. They didn't expect the backlash that was coming. They saw it as a small pebble being thrown in the water. They forgot that even a small ripple can grow into a tidal wave. Not only had their choice to get Naruto leave angered the Hokage, it also angered the upper ranks of their new generation of ninjas. The Rookie 9, minus the traitor of course, and Team Guy were all disgusted and had no problems voicing it. After all, the Hokage would not punish them because she stood with them. There was only a handful of older shinobi that were upset over the dismissal of the young blonde. They were Kakashi, Iruka, Asuma, Guy, Anko, Shizune and Kurenai. These ninja knew Naruto and that the charges against him were nothing more than hot air. Kakashi knew very well what happened between Naruto and Sasuke during their battle at the Valley of the End. And he knew damn well what caused the huge wound in Naruto's chest. As a ninja you are trained to show no emotion, but when he saw that wound he wanted to throw up in disgust. He knew what jutsu was used and was ashamed that it was him who had taught it to Sasuke. The night he returned with Naruto, he spent hours at the memorial stone. He spent hours alone with his thoughts and immense guilt. He knew who Naruto really was and he turned his back on him and focused on Sasuke. He saw so much of himself in the raven-haired boy. He was desperate to give him hope. Instead he gave him a move that nearly killed his sensei's only son. He was ashamed that he couldn't be around Naruto because he had not completely healed from his sensei's death. He was sick with himself because it was Naruto who had really needed him, not Sasuke. He knew nothing would change Sasuke. What would Minato-sensei think of how he had treated his son? Kakashi knew that Naruto would return one day for what was his. And when that day came, he silently swore that he would stand by him to the end. There were many of the villagers who began to feel the difference that the hyperactive brat brought to the village. With him there was a sense of life in the village. And slowly it began to die out. And what most noticed was that it had only been a week. They were all nervous about what the future held for Konoha. Those villagers that were stubborn and praised the council were lucky that the ninja weren't allowed to strike them. If they muttered the wrong thing in front of the wrong ninja, the killer intent that leaked from them was enough of a threat that little to no words were needed. Naruto's presence was missed the most by the owners of Ichirakus. Not only had their income dropped, but so had their morale. Naruto was Tuchi and Ayame's favorite customer. If any villager was rude about their favorite patron, then they were thrown out. The village hidden in the leaves would realize the mistake that they made. And they would be sorry. It had been a week since Naruto started his mediation with the Toad Sage. And Jiraiya was presently surprised by the results thus far. Naruto's range was quickly improving. He could sense up to a mile around him. And he was getting better at doing it discreetly enough not to alert others of his presence. Jiraiya also noted that Naruto was calming down more as his extra energy was focused on sensing chakra. Jiraiya thought the time had come for the two to reach an understanding amongst them. Naruto needed to know what his life would be like while he was training and traveling with him. "Naruto, let's talk," Jiraiya said as they slowed down. They were coming up on a town. They decided to camp outside of the village instead of getting a hotel. It was just for the night. "Hi, Daifu," Naruto said. He had taken to calling him Godfather when they weren't in public. He stuck to Sensei when they were around people for safety reasons. "I think we need to talk about what's going to happen while we are on the road." "Okay," said the white-haired man. Naruto nodded as he gathered some firewood for the camp. He sat a few feet away from him when he was done. Jiraiya said nothing as Naruto did what he had been practicing. He was checking to see if the area was clear. I sense some people but I don't think that they are a threat. I'll send out some clones to check on it." Jiraiya nodded because he felt what Naruto did. After a few minutes Naruto opened his eyes and focused on Jiraiya. "Clear, they're just merchants. But I'll keep a few clones out there just in case." Naruto told the Sennin. "You've done good, Naru, but I want to make sure you understand what's going to be happening." Jiraiya paused. "Not only will I be training you, but I will be doing my research." Naruto sighed and rolled his eyes at the mention of Jiraiya's research, and he caught on to it. "First of all, since you are no longer a paid ninja, my research pays for you to eat, and second of all, it's not that kind of research, sadly. We will be following leads on the Akatsuki and such." "Oh, okay," Naruto replied. "So you need to be cautious. You need to meditate every day, in the morning and at night. And like you've been doing when we stop somewhere. I'm sure the Akatsuki still desire the Kyuubi and you aren't strong enough to take them on yet." Naruto began to get a bit impatient. "Well, when are you going to train me in other things? You still need to work on your patience. But mediating has done you wonders," Jiraiya explained. And before Naruto could ask, he continued. "Let me demonstrate. Sit." Naruto obeyed and sat in his mediating position. Concentrate and focus. Hold out your hands and feel the chakra, visualized it forming, swirling and taking shape in your hand, now keep thinking about it. Open your eyes. Jiraiya instructed. Naruto opened his eyes and they widened. There were 2 small Rasengans, one in each hand. Naruto got so excited that they vanished. He sat there in awe. Wow, just mediating helped? He asked. Yep, Jiraiya replied. What else are you going to teach me, Daifu? Well, I want you to learn sealing. That was something that your father was good at. I know some restrictive seals and such which should help with training. But sealing is something very useful. I will teach you some of my jutsu and some other stuff. All of these things will strengthen you so that one day you can use that jutsu your father made famous. The Hirishin no Jutsu? Naruto asked bright-eyed. Yes, the yellow flash will return one day. Jiraiya said proudly. It had been 5 years since Naruto walked out of Konoha. And it had been 5 years since he had stepped foot in Konoha. He really wasn't excited about coming back so soon. He had wanted to wait longer. But he had business with the Hokage today. As he walked up to the front gate, it seemed that nothing had really changed in the time since he was gone. And for a moment he had felt a small sense of homecoming. He was snapped out of his brief warm fuzzy feelings when he heard the guards hop off of their posts and approach. The guards looked at the stranger with hard eyes. They looked at the black fabric that was tied across his forehead. The metal plate that was attached to it was blank, a clear statement that he belonged to no village. However, he was clearly a ninja. He looked vaguely familiar to them and they racked their brains to figure out whether he was friendly or not. Try as they might, they could not place him. A lot about him had changed in 5 years. He was very tall and muscular. He had a sun-kissed look because of the time he spent outside training. The orange jumpsuit was gone. He realized a few years ago that it made him stand out even more. He was now clad head to toe in black or dark gray except for the yellow that could be seen from the inside his battle jacket. Naruto had taken to wearing the battle jacket in honor of his father. It had dark gray flames that seemed to dance on the bottom. And in the same gray, there was a swirl on his back, which was to honor his mother. Under the battle jacket, he wore black ninja pants and normal black ninja sandals. He had a sleeveless mesh shirt tucked in his pants and wore a black vest over it. His vest was very similar to the Chunin vest, however, it had many more pouches. It had been a gift from his godfather. Flashback. It had been a year into their travels and Naruto's training had gone well so far. The mediating had served its purpose. Naruto had much more control of chakra and he could sense Jiraiya up to 4 miles away. Which, even though he was proud of his pupil, he silently cursed his range. He could no longer sneak up on Naruto, which took some of the fun out of traveling. After Naruto had the basics of mediation down well, Jiraiya thought it was time to step it up. He began to add resistance seals to Naruto as he did everyday things, and when he was training the resistance was doubled. As soon as Naruto would adapt to the additional resistance, more would be added. Jiraiya had also taken to actually teaching him sealing, which Naruto had loudly protested at first. "Ah, come on Daifu, why'd I need to learn sealing? That's what backpacks are for. This is stupid," Naruto whined. Jiraiya sighed. "Naru, don't regress. We made progress with the whining crap. Don't pick it up again. It's annoying and unbecoming of a ninja of your status." "Status? What are you talking about? I'm not tied to any village to rank me, so I have no status. And if I was, I'm still a damn genin." "That's true. Damn Orochimaru stopped the exam with his invasion." Jiraiya thought out loud. "Shikamaru still made Chunin though," sighed Naruto. Jiraiya threw his shoulders back and held his nose in the air. "Oh well, since you have been with me, you have well surpassed what it means to be a genin. So I, the Toad Sage and one of the legendary Sannin, hereby state you are of Chunin rank." By the time that he had finished he was so puffed up that he reminded Naruto of Gamabunta right before he was going to spew water. Naruto began to laugh at his companion. "Why are you laughing at me, brat? Did you hear what I said?" Jiraiya yelled. "Yes I did. Did you? Mighty full of yourself Mr. Toad Sage, aren't you?" Naruto began to smile. "Oi, you brat, I have every right to be." "Well, that's fine, I guess you don't want your gift then." "Gift?" Jiraiya laughed and tossed the vest out to Naruto. Naruto caught it and looked at the black vest. He noticed the many scroll pouches it had on it. He put it on over his new mesh shirt that he had gotten earlier that week. Nice daifu. Hey, wait a minute, all these scroll pouches? This isn't for sealing scrolls, is it? Naruto questioned. So untrusting, he looked at his student's glare. Yay, okay, so I thought it might make you want to learn sealing more. But look at like a Chunin vest. You've earned it. Thanks Ero Senin. Jiraiya's sweat dropped and sighed. Damn, I thought I almost got him to stop calling me that, he thought to himself. End of flashback. The two guards walked up to the blonde and stopped. They were still tense since they hadn't recognized him or figured out whether he was friend or foe. The taller of the two ninjas walked up to Naruto. State your name and purpose. He said, I have business with the Hokage. Please step aside and let me on my way. Naruto stated calmly. You must be new to this village, that's not how it works. A random stranger cannot just walk up to our Hokage. What business do you have with her? The second guard said as he approached. I'm not here to cause trouble, please just step aside. Naruto replied. The two guards showed no signs of moving and this caused Naruto to sigh loudly. I was just being nice. But I'll be on my way now. Good day to you too. Naruto gave the two one of his famous fox-like grins and the two guards' eyes widened. They still had no idea who he was. But the sudden yellow flash that was seen shocked them. Naruto had appeared a few feet behind them. No, where did he go? The first yelled. What was that move? That wasn't his move, was it? The second questioned out loud. A voice from behind them answered. The Hirishin no Jutsu is what you speak of, and no, that wasn't it. Naruto turned on his heel and began to walk toward the Hokage tower. He waved to the two baffled guards. Konoha's yellow flash has not returned, yet. The inside of his yellow jacket was flapping in the wind as he began to jump from rooftop to rooftop, his speed increasing with each second. His business would not be ignored anymore. The guards didn't know what to do. An unknown ninja had just entered the village with such speed that they didn't even know which direction he went. Crap, we have to get to the Hokage. That's where he has to be going. The first guard yelled. Then move your ass. I'll notify the Anbu. Go, the second answered quickly. While the first guard took off, the second was trying to signal the Anbu of the village while he was hurrying along. Kakashi lazily made his way up to the gates. His interests were piqued when he saw only one guard moving around frantically. He rushed over. What's wrong? Kakashi ordered. Oh, thank Kami. Hitaki-sama, an unidentified ninja got past us. He said he had business with the Hokage. Please help us. What did he look like? Kakashi asked. He was highly annoyed with the guard. How could they let someone get by them? Kakashi was starting to get antsy. He had blonde hair and a blank head. He moved so fast, I thought he was using the fourth jutsu. Blurred yellow and everything. Kakashi's eye widened. With that he took off and headed straight to the Hokage's office. He sniffed the air frantically. The scent smelled like him and, toads? Kakashi just knew it had to be him. After all, only two people in the world smelled like toads. Kakashi tore through the tower, knocking over anything and anyone who was in his way. Then, all of a sudden, it hit him. He was tearing through everything like a panic-stricken moron. It was so out of character for him. He managed to regain his control as he closed in on Tsunade's office. He sighed and thought to himself, I wonder if he's returned for what is his. I hope he has. It's way past due. It was no surprise that Naruto had beaten the guard and the Anbu to Tsunade's office. As a matter of fact, no one at the tower knew anything was even wrong. Never being much of a traditional person, Naruto had decided that he would enter through the open window. Maybe it wouldn't hurt to have some fun. After all, I don't get to see Ba-chan that much anymore. Naruto thought to himself as he preformed the necessary hand signs. He soon vanished from sight. Oh yes, traveling with the legendary Peeping Tom had its perks. Naruto slipped in the room and sighed at the sight before him. There was Tsunade, face down in a stack of paperwork. He decided that the safest place for him would be the ceiling. He pumped his chakra in the appropriate places and called the wall. He sat on the ceiling right above Tsunade's desk. He waited. Oh, this would be fun. Not long after he got situated, a frantic Shizune entered the office to find a sleeping Hokage. She knew that waking her up would be rough, but it had to be done. The guard entered close behind her, followed by an Anbu. The guard cried out, relieved when that the Hokage was okay. Naruto and Shizune stiffened and waited for the backlash. "Hokage-sama," he yelled. Before he even had time to react, an empty sake bottle came flying at his head. Naruto and Shizune wince at the crack of making contact with the young Chunin's head. "Who the hell dares to wake me up?" Tsunade snarled at the entourage in her office. The Anbu stepped forward and bowed. Shizune kneeled down beside the injured ninja and began to heal him. "Please forgive the intrusion, Hokage-sama. But it's important," the bear Anbu said. "Well, what is it?" She cut him off. "An unidentified ninja has entered the village. We believe that he was heading this way. We don't know his location." The bear Anbu finished. As he was finishing his words, Kakashi entered the room with a crinkled eye. He didn't even look up from his book. "Lady Tsunade, I'm here to give my report," Kakashi lazily replied. He seemed to be unbothered by the people in the room. The mission was a success. Later, Kakashi, "We have problems to deal with," Tsunade said as she stood and walked to the front of her desk. "There's an intruder inside the gates." "Hi, Lady Tsunade. I spoke with the guard at the gate. I don't think he's a threat." No one noticed his one eye shift to the ceiling above the desk. "What do you mean, Kakashi?" the bear Anbu asked. "All right, you've had enough fun. Come on out before everyone has a heart attack," Kakashi said. Everyone in the room looked around with wide eyes. He had been there the whole time. How did they not sense him? Who was it? Then there was a loud thud on the top of the desk and everyone's head snapped to the desk. Atop the desk with a huge grin, was a man with wild yellow hair. He sheepishly scratched the back of his head and laughed. "Long time no see, Ba-chan," Naruto replied. The room was so quiet that you could hear the crickets chirping outside. Tsunade's mouth was hanging open. Her eye began to twitch. You could see her fists tightening. She was pissed. The killer intent that was leaking off of her was immense. Everyone in the room was scared for Naruto. She turned around so that her body was facing him. Naruto's smile began to fade. He decided that it was time for damage control. He threw his hands up in the air to surrender. "Oh, come on, Ba-chan. It was all in good fun," Naruto pleaded. "Good fun?" Her eyes started to twitch even more. "Ba-chan?" questioned Naruto. She snorted as she quickly brought both hands down and destroyed her desk. Naruto's speed came in handy. He moved so fast that Tsunade didn't even see him. He moved behind her and wrapped his arms around her. He squeezed her tightly and felt her relax. "I missed you too, Ba-chan." He released her and everyone exhaled the breath that they had been holding. She turned to face him with tears in her eyes. "You couldn't have visited sooner, brat?" She hugged him back. He groaned from the pressure but embraced her again. Kakashi coughed loudly, never taking his eyes off of his little orange book. The three others that were in the room turned their gaze to him. "I think we should let them talk. I have a feeling that it is a high-priority subject," Kakashi said in a lazy tone. All in attendance nodded and exited the room. Kakashi walked out last and smiled to himself and he thought, "Welcome home, Namikaze-sama." "So, it's been 5 years, Naruto, why return now?" Tsunade asked. "There isn't much that gets by you, Naruto joked. "Don't start, brat. What brings you here?" she asked again. All humor was gone from his face. Tsunade was taken back by the Naruto that sat in front of her. She began to wonder what 5 years of being away from Konoha had done to the boy. "Tsunade-sama, I believe that you know why I am here," Naruto said flatly. Whenever a person such as Naruto used formalities, it was always a serious matter. She sighed as she thought of Minato and Kushina. She knew that their son should not have to fight for what it is. But she also knew that he would have to fight for it. She laced her fingers together and rested her chin on them. "Yes, Naruto, I know what you have come for and my support you have always had. But I want to hear you say the words," Tsunade replied. "Then so be it. I, Naruto Uzumaki, am here to claim my rightful title as Naruto Namikaze, head of the Namikaze clan and son of the Yondaime." A warm breeze entered the room through the open window and filled the room. Tsunade smiled at the warmth. And despite it, she had goosebumps on her arms from the words that Naruto had spoken. It seemed that Kami and his parents were behind him on his choice. "Good. I'll summon the council so you can go before them. By the end of this visit, the Namikazes won't be just a memory," Tsunade said with a smirk on her face. "Meet back here in an hour." Dismissed. Naruto didn't budge from his seat. He just stared at her with a stupid grin on his face. She looked at him rather annoyed. "What are you still doing here, brat?" I said, dismissed. Ba-chan, you can't just order me around. I am no longer one of your shinobi. He knew where this was going. He had no issues with her or following her orders. But this was Naruto, and he loved to get under her skin. Mission accomplished. Tsunade chunked a rather large scroll at the blonde, which he dodged easy. Nice try, but I'm also a lot faster than your ninja. Get the hell out of my office, you brat. She screamed. As you wish, Hokage-sama. He said with sarcasm as he vanished. He has grown so much, but yet he can be exactly the same. Leaf ninja or not, he's going to be the death of me. Tsunade laughed as she pressed the buzzer and watched Shizune walk in. Yes, Lady Tsunade? Shizune asked. Gather the council. There is business to attend to. Hi Lady Tsunade. They will be assembled within the hour. Shizune bowed and exited the room. Tsunade sat back and opened her drawer. She took out her sake and poured herself a dish. She sighed as she sipped it. This will be an interesting afternoon to say the least. After Kakashi had confirmed that it was Naruto, he made a stop by the memorial stone. He thought about all the things that he had done in the past 5 years without Naruto. They had not parted on bad terms, but he knew that Naruto resented the way he was treated. And Kakashi knew that it was time to make it right. He lifted his nose to the air and sniffed. He needed his keen senses to track down Naruto. He had to talk to him. For some reason Naruto was feeling oddly sentimental. After leaving Tsunade's office he made his way to Training Area 7. He had no idea why he went there. He walked over to the training posts and gracefully hoisted himself onto one and sat. In 5 years he never realized how much he missed Konoha. But he had. It had been his home for so long. When he thought about it, he didn't really miss the villagers. They had lived to cause the young man grief when he was little. But there were a handful of people that he missed terribly. With 5 years of sending his chakra out to sense his surroundings, it had now become something he did without even thinking. So it was really no surprise when he picked up on Kakashi 4 miles out heading his way. He just sat there and waited. He knew exactly where the copycat ninja was hiding. Ever so smoothly he reached down and drew out a kunai and sent it sailing in Kakashi's shrub. A thud was heard as it made contact with a tree behind. Kakashi's eye widened at the incoming kunai and just barely made it out of the way. He didn't even see Naruto throw it. He sighed when he realized that Naruto knew he was there. Come on out Kakashi. You aren't the only one with keen senses you know? Naruto told him. I see being with Jiraiya has done you well. Hi, it has. Naruto replied. But that's not why you are here is it? Very keen senses. No it's not. I wish to speak with you about the past. Kakashi stated. Naruto nodded. There was a moment of silence as Kakashi gathered his thoughts and Naruto simply let him. After all, it was he who wished to speak. Before anything, I owe you an apology. He said bluntly. Naruto was stunned. It wasn't like him to say he was wrong even when he knew that he was. In all the years that he had known the one-eyed ninja, never once had he said those words and actually meant them. Naruto, for once in his 17 years, was truly at a loss of words. Kakashi had somewhat expected a reaction such as this. He knew the act that he put on for everyone around him. I will never be able to convey to you how sorry I really am. Kakashi, there is no need. Naruto began. Hi, there is. I was a horrible teacher to you. I gave my own jutsu to someone unworthy and he turned around and damn near killed you with it. Kakashi, you didn't know he would do that. Hell, I even thought he wouldn't do what he did. At one point or another, we were all blinded by the Uchiha bastard. True, but there is more. Kakashi paused. Naruto could feel the guilt radiating from him. Kakashi sighed loudly. I couldn't face you. I shunned you because of who you were. Kakashi please, that doesn't surprise me anymore. I mean I am the container of the Kyuubi. Being shunned is something I have been used to for a long time now. Even with the unwanted memories of his childhood flooding back into his mind, he felt really bad for the man sitting next to him. He could feel his pain and knew the guilt that he was dealing with. He knew better than most that facing your inner demons was difficult to say the least. No, the Kyuubi had nothing to do with it. I knew you were Minato-sensei's son. I couldn't face you because it hurt too much. I had lost everyone close to me. Your parents practically took me in. And then they died as well. But in their place they left you. You're their spitting image in so many ways. It took you almost dying for me to get my head out of my ass. Kakashi sighed and Naruto along with him. Both men stared off into the wooded area that surrounded them. All of the information had been new to Naruto. He had never known that his mom and dad were parental figures to Kakashi. If things had been different and Minato and Kushina were still alive, they might have been like brothers. Naruto placed a hand on Kakashi's shoulder. His one eye widened. Naruto sighed again. "Well, I guess it's good that you got your head out of your ass then." Naruto replied with a foxy grin. Kakashi's visible eye crinkled. He chuckled in spite of himself. This boy who had no idea how much like his parents he really was. He was able to draw out anyone from their shell, a talent he inherited from both parents. If given the chance, the kid could probably charm the pants of the devil himself. The two sat there in silence for a bit. They were thinking about the conversation that they just had. Kakashi? Am I really like them? Kakashi was taken back by this question. He was shocked, not by the question itself, but by Naruto as he asked it. He was so innocent and childlike when he asked. His eyes glistened with hope. For that brief moment he seemed untouched by all the hardships he had growing up. He was saddened by the fact that he knew what Naruto's parents had been like while he never would. And he felt guilt for not being there for him more like his parents had been there for him. More than you will ever know. Everything that you are now, is what they were. I understand what happened, and why. I just really wish that I could know them like you and Jiraiya. I didn't think it was possible to miss people so much when you never even knew them. Naruto said with such a heartbreaking sadness. They sat in silence once again. It was oddly comforting for Naruto to be in his old sensei's presence. Being around someone who knew his parents made him feel better. It proved that they were real and not something he made up. He could feel tension rising from Kakashi. Kakashi, I know what you are thinking. I don't hate you. You did the best you could at the time. I don't know how you cannot hate me. After finding out that I knew who you were. Hi, I won't lie. That was pretty shitty, but I think there are some people who deserve another chance. Just keep your head out of your ass from now on and I think we will be okay. Hey, deal. Kakashi smiled. What did you return for? To the point as always, Kakashi? Naruto returned the grin briefly before a serious look overtook. I am here for what is mine. What was mine by birth and what I have been denied for far too long now. The air that surrounded Naruto oddly fit him perfectly. He was serious and determined. He had truly developed into an interesting person in the 5 years he was away. He was a man like his father. A man that a ninja could follow until the end of their time. It's time for my meeting with the council. Naruto said as he jumped off the post he was sitting on. Kakashi followed suit and faced the young ninja. Hi, Namikaze-sama. It is rightfully yours and I will honor my late sensei and fight along with you to make sure it is yours. Thank you Kakashi. Now, let us go. There is a room full of old people waiting for us. The role of leader is something that fitted Naruto well. Kakashi followed Naruto towards the council's meeting area in the Hokage Tower. He did not feel strange walking behind him. As his battle jacket flowed in the breeze, Kakashi couldn't help but feel as if he were following Minato. He shook it off. He wasn't following Minato, he was following Naruto Namikaze, the Leaf's last Namikaze and next Hokage. The council had gathered in the small meeting room. They all sat around waiting for the announcement as to why they had been summoned. Tsunade entered the room and a hush fell over the room. All eyes were on her and they waited for her to speak. Honored Council of Konoha, we are here today to attend to some business that had been 17 years in the making. A young man has returned seeking to claim what is rightfully his. Murmurs went through the room about the Uchiha. The Uchiha has returned? How come we weren't notified? Wouldn't we have known if he had? Who is he? Please calm down. He is here, wishing to speak with you. I ask that you do not judge him for what he was, but the man he has become. Tsunade said, eyeing the council wearily. After a brief pause, please enter. The doors to the meeting room swung open and in walked two ninja. One that they easily recognized as Kakashi Hitaki and the other one that looked like a ghost. The whispers began once again. Yondaime-sama? There is no way that is him. How is Namikaze-sama walking amongst us? The tall blonde walked into the light so that they could all get a look at him. When their eyes fell upon his, they were shocked. They began to examine the man that stood in front of them. Then as they noticed the whisker markings on his cheeks, they all gasped. How can this be? How does the demon brat look like Yondaime? What is he doing here? I thought he was exiled. A middle-aged man stood and looked Naruto in the eye. What business brings you back into our walls? You have much to answer for. The man stated. Naruto, Kakashi and Tsunade bristled at the man's words. Tsunade began to speak but was cut off by Naruto. Both Kakashi and Tsunade were curious as to how he would address this man. Honored counsel, good sir. I do not know what you mean by, I have much to answer for. I have done nothing but follow what I was told since the time that I was able to understand. I was given the chance to choose to leave my home with my honor. Being as naive as I was when I left, I thought I had honor. But I soon figured out that I had none. I was denied my honor. I was denied my heritage. Naruto stated in a very serious manner. What do you mean your heritage? You are the Kyuubi, you have no heritage. Naruto threw his head back and laughed. The council stared at the man as if he had gone mad. Please sir, I do not insult your intelligence, do not insult mine. I am not Kyuubi, I am merely the container of the Kyuubi. I keep the bastard beast at bay so you can be safe. But let me ask you this. Where did the fourth look to find this infant to seal away the Kyuubi? Do you think that I won some damn contest? No. And I also know that the council has always been in the background. That you all have your ways on knowing what goes on in this village. You all knew that Gigi took me, protected me and renamed me for my safety. What are you saying? That you are the child that Kushina Namikaze was carrying? Please, you know damn well who I am. Look at me for Kami's sake. Naruto growled as he was starting to lose his cool. Looks count for nothing. That could be a henge. Another councilman said, I have two people here who know my birth parents. Jiraiya-sensei will be here shortly. And for the hell of it, Naruto held out his large hand and created a perfect sphere of swirling chakra in his hand. My father's Rasengan. Tsunade and Kakashi stood there in awe when he performed it with one hand and very little effort. The last time that they had seen him do the Rasengan, he needed a clone's assistance. Look, I have followed the rulings of the council for as long as I was here. I followed Lady Tsunade, hell, I helped find her so she could become the Godem. I have studied under Kakashi, the copycat, Hitaki and Jiraiya, one of the legendary Sannin. I think I have proved that I am not this devil that you all think I am. But I am here to say, that if you don't give me what is mine, then I will take it. Whether you like it or not, I am Naruto Namikaze, the only son of the Yondaime Hokage, and the last living Namikaze. And will so be henceforth. You can't just take it. The hell he can't. It is his to take. And you will not keep my student's son from it anymore. All eyes turned to see Jiraiya jump in through the window. It's his and I can prove it. How can you prove such a thing? A council lady asked. By his blood. Tsunade jumped forward at his teammate's words. She was still in shock that he made it to the leaf so quickly. But she was also amazed that when something was important, he never failed those who needed him. Jiraiya, what do you mean? His blood? Tsunade asked, apparently taking the words out of the council's collective mouths. Murmurs of agreement sprung up from the council. I'm talking about the Namikaze compound. My student, even though he never expected him or his wife to die, left us a little test. He was a much hated man by other countries, so he devised a security system for his compound. And as a seal master. Before he could finish he was cut off by one of the council members. Yes, that's all well and good, but what does that have to do with the matter at hand? If you would let me finish, I tell you. Jiraiya eyed each member of the council, looking to the next one to cause a disturbance. Like Naruto, Jiraiya was usually a laid-back person, but when needed, he could be as serious as death. And when he was serious, he was not a man to be messed with. Whenever Minato Namikaze would leave the compound, he would activate this security system, and being a seal master, he used a complicated series of blood seals. These seals could only be activated and deactivated by a member of the Namikaze clan. Jiraiya finished. All the members of the council, Tsunade, Kakashi and Naruto just stood there in silence while they all took in the information. Naruto at once knew what that meant. This was the proof that the council needed. Leave it to Jiraiya to find something that no one would think of. Naruto nervously watched the council and could see them trying to figure out where this was going. He glanced between the three other ninja in the room. Tsunade and Kakashi knew what this meant as well. Kakashi sighed out loud and hung his head. It means that to prove that Naruto is a Namikaze, then he and only he should be able to open the seals that Minato-sensei placed on the compound. Tsunade smiled and walked forward. So if you all will make your way to the Namikaze compound, we can settle this once and for all. If Naruto opens the seals, then it's proven. Agreed? There were some mumbles amongst the council. Tsunade started to anger, and that scared the council. Oh, Kami. He has myself, Jiraiya and Kakashi supporting him, and that will be undeniable proof. When he opens the seals to the Namikaze compound, I will name him as the last Namikaze. The council has abused him for too long. Now move out, Tsunade said as she pounded a fist on the desk in front of her. The four ninjas shushined out of the meeting room and made it to the gates of the Namikaze estate. As they stood there waiting for the council to make their way to the compound, Naruto walked over to Jiraiya. Daifu, how do you know that my father activated these seals before he left to fight the Kyuubi? Asked Naruto. He always locked them, Jiraiya said. Ero Sennin? You are starting to sweat. You are hiding something, Naruto accused. I am not, he argued. Jiraiya. Tsunade cracked her knuckles, and he winced at the sound. Oh okay, I realized that I left my good telescope here. A few weeks after the attack I tried to retrieve it, but I couldn't. I know that the seals are in place. Why couldn't you just jump the wall? It's not that high, Jiraiya-sama, Kakashi asked. Because once the seal is activated it seals the compound, it projects a barrier around it. Minato really was a genius with seals. The Toad Sage turned to his blonde student. You could too, if you would just try. Not now, The council approaches, Naruto stated calmly. Jiraiya stepped up to meet the council as they gathered around the gate. Now, watch closely. Naruto, swipe your blood over that seal. Jiraiya said. Hi, Naruto said as he brought his thumb to his mouth a bit to draw blood. He rubbed his thumb from top to bottom over the blank seal. At first, nothing seemed to happen. You could hear the scoffs from the council. Wait for it, Jiraiya said. The seal seemed to come to life. It began to absorb the blood that Naruto had smeared over it. After it cleared of blood, it began to glow. It was as if the seal was thinking and testing the blood. The glow faded and then the blood reappeared, but now it was reused as the ink that showed the markings of the seal. The words on the seal began to glow quickly as they faded out and sizzled. It was then that the seal began to split along the seam of the gates. Naruto's heart leapt as he placed both hands on the gates. He sighed loudly as he pushed them open. He lifted his head and looked out upon his family's home. This is where his parents lived. He was home. The council gasped. It was true. The Namikazes were not an extinct clan. The glances that they were throwing at one another ceased as soon as the massive gates swung open. There stood the Namikaze compound. It had been the home of the legendary Yondaime Hokage and his wife. These gates had not been opened since they were last here 17 years ago. Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Kakashi walked up behind Naruto. The four were taking in the sights around them. For Naruto, this was something completely new, a connection to what he never had. For the other three, it was like walking in the past. The compound had been neglected for 17 years. All the grounds were severely overgrown. All of the gardens were in need of weeding. The grass was way too high. Even the buildings had minor damage, but nothing that a caring touch couldn't fix. Naruto felt as if it was waiting for him to restore it to its former glory. He was in another world. He was lost to everyone around him. It was as if he were the only one on the compound. He didn't hear anyone calling his name. He didn't hear anyone talking around him. He was drawn to the land, he had to see it. Naruto walked further into the compound and left Tsunade, Jiraiya and Kakashi to deal with the council. They were in awe. No one had actually thought that the blood seals would work. But there it was, the blood proof. They couldn't deny Naruto anymore. The council had fought against Naruto for far too long. They tried to ignore him, but he couldn't be. He would not let anyone ignore him. The council knew all too well about who Naruto really was. They knew of his parents and of his heritage. They knew that Minato Namikaze of the Leaf and Kushina Uzumaki of the Whirlpool would indeed spawn a ninja of Hokage potential. Then factor in the power of the Kyuubi, his potential was endless. What stopped them was fear. They feared the Kyuubi, and by default they feared Naruto. It did not occur to them for most of the boy's life that he was not a demon, but a hero. They never realized that hating him could backfire and cause him to become a demon, the one that they all feared. It was now that they thanked Kami for those that kept this young man sane. After all, They all knew what Gaara of the Sand was like before Naruto had befriended him. Ahem. Well now council members, you have your proof. I will speak with Namikaze-sama and let you know when we will be making the announcement to the village. Tsunade told them. Now, if you don't mind, we have things to discuss, you are all free to leave. Thank you. Hi, Lady Tsunade, we the council have some things to discuss as well. Good day to you. The council all turned and walked away from the grounds. They indeed had much to discuss. There were many things that they had been wrong about and many things that they had to rectify. Tsunade had turned the two men that were standing with her. Well guys, I think the Namikaze will need us. There is years of information and history in this place. And I think he might need some help going through this all. I think so. He may not show it, but I can tell this is a lot for him, whether it's good or bad. Jiraiya commented. Tsunade and Jiraiya walked through the gates and felt a warm breeze envelope them. They turned to see Kakashi frozen at the gate. His one viable eye was widened. It seemed to take Kakashi a while to find his voice. I just remembered something. I have to, go. He quickly bowed and then vanished. The two Sannin looked at where he stood. Jiraiya sighed and shook his head. I see the boy is still dealing with his own demons. I know how hard their death was on him. I hope he can come to terms with it. Maybe he and Naruto can help each other. I agreed Jiraiya. I hope so. I can't even begin to think of that Naruto is going through right now. I wonder where the brat is. Shall we? Tsunade after you. Jiraiya said as he made a big show out of bowing to her. She cocked her head to the side and raised an eyebrow and she smirked. She made a fist and brought it down on the top of Sage's head. Oh please you old goat. Your godson probably needs you and you are being a damn pervert. Will you ever grow up? She sighed and walked off after Naruto. Jiraiya rubbed the knot on the top of his from where he was hit. He chuckled to himself and thought, she's not fooling me, she wants me. The Namikaze estate was not a small plot of land, although it by no means could compete with either the Hyuga or Uchiha compounds. It had one main house with three smaller houses off to the right. Further to the right was a wooded area. On the left side of the estate were beautiful gardens and in the back left corner, there was a family hot spring. The estate even had its own dojo and plenty enough land for light sparring and training. Tsunade walked down the side of the estate where the gardens were. Even though they hadn't been tended to in 17 years, they were still beautiful. Tsunade sighed and smiled. Ah, Kushina, you always had a way with plants. I don't know how you did it, or do it. They are still beautiful. Talking to yourself, Haim? Jiraiya said and then backed off expecting to get smacked. When she didn't swing, he continued. Found him? No not yet. I was just looking at the gardens. Looks almost like Kushina never left. She said. Hi, I know what you mean. This place is unreal. I can still feel them here. Jiraiya said. The both looked around the grounds to see if they could find Naruto. Then they saw him. He was standing in the back right corner right before the wooded area. There seemed to be a glow to the area. The wind whirled around Naruto and the leaves danced. Naruto stood there with his eyes closed and a look of utmost serenity. As the two Sannin walked up to him he exhaled and met the gaze. So this is home? He said. It is now, hell, it has always been. Jiraiya said with a smile. Ba-chan, Daifu, is it crazy that I can feel them? Right here, I can feel their presence. It's comforting. Naruto smiled and inhaled deeply and exhaled. So Ba-chan, what did the council say? Nothing. They can't deny you now. And I think that they are regretting their past choices regarding you. I was thinking that if you are still here, we can make the announcement in 2 days. Tsunade replied. Announcement? For what? Naruto questioned. Well, we want to let the world know who you really are. If that is okay with you. Jiraiya said with a tint of spite in his voice. Now Daifu, if anyone has right to spite it is I and I am feeling it, just a bit. Let the village know. In 2 days' time, we will tell them. But for now, we need to get this place in order. I think a few clones can handle the outside while we take a look inside. Naruto said as 50 clones appeared and fanned out to begin working. Shall we? Naruto began to make his way towards the main house when he realized that his two companions were still behind. Jiraiya was looking at Tsunade with a smirk on his face as while she watched the clones. Is there a problem, Ba-chan? You've seen me make clones before, what's the big deal? Yeah, but there were no hand signs and you said a few. A few is like 2 or 3. There is 50 more of you, and are they cleaning? Hi, and the point being? Naruto replied as he held her gaze. I know that you have a lot of chakra, but 50 to be cleaning for Kami knows how long. Jiraiya, you old goat, what did you do to him? Why'd I always get blamed for everything? I have been waiting for 17 years for this and you two are going to argue over my training at a time like this? Naruto shook his head and walked off. The two Sannin stopped talking and followed him. Naruto made it up to the back steps of the porch. He sighed and walked up the stairs and made his way to the door. He looked at the door and then turned to look at Jiraiya as he made his way up behind him. My dad was really paranoid. Here's another blood seal. I bet they are all over here. Hey, I am sure that they are. That's what happens when someone is hated and wants to protect what is his. And this was one way he knew would work, and work very well. Hey brat, you think I can get my telescope? Tsunade hit Jiraiya over the head. Really? You are going to ask that now? Hi, I guess Arrow Daifu, and here we go. Naruto said before he nipped his finger and drew blood. He swiped his thumb over the seal and it reacted the same way as the one over the gate. He slowly opened the door and made his way into the dusty home. The other two followed him in and felt their hearts tighten. The house was comfortable, and Naruto had felt like he was home the second that he set foot inside. The house was spacious and uncluttered. There was dust everywhere. Naruto was thinking about how many clones would be needed to clean up in the main house and the other 3 houses. The main house had 2 stories. On the first story there was a large kitchen and dining area. Then there were 3 nicely sized bedrooms and a bathroom. On the second floor, there were 2 large bedrooms, a bathroom and a massive library and study that took up half of the floor. The first bedroom was the master bedroom. There is a large bed in the center of the room along with the usual bedroom items. Naruto walked over to the open closet. It was his father's side. There were ninja clothes and in the back hung one of his battle jackets. Naruto ran his hand over it and smiled. Hey, it's like stepping back in time. Even when he was in a hurry, he was an organized and neat person. He said out loud to no one in particular. He continued to look around the room. After he took in all he could, he decided that it was time to move on. He walked out of the room and to the next one. As he placed his hand on the doorknob, he got a chill. Naruto shook it off and opened the door. It was the room that was meant to be his. He smiled as he walked in. There was his crib in the corner. He looked over the edge and laughed. There in the inside was a bright orange baby blanket. It was edged in white flames and in the center was a giant swirl. He ran his hand on the blanket. It's good to be home, he said as he was walking down the stairs. He met up with the other 2 who were looking around the house. What do you 2 think? I don't think it will take 50 clones, but I think that it will be nice once it's back up to its former glory. We have faith in you, Tsunade said. 2 days later. The 2 days seemed to pass by very quickly for Naruto. He had locked himself in the estate since he was busy cleaning it up. There were only 3 people who he would let in the estate and they were Tsunade, Jiraiya and Kakashi. Naruto was a little disappointed that Kakashi never did show himself to take a look around. He had that of all people, he would have wanted to see what the place had looked like now. Naruto attributed the man's lack of presence to what they had talked about 2 days prior. The entire town had been gossiping like crazy about the fact that Naruto Uzumaki had returned to the Leaf. Some were surprised that he was not chased off immediately, but many were glad that he was home. It had been a very dull 5 years without him running around and pulling pranks. And everyone was curious as to what the Hokage's big announcement was about. Tsunade had asked that the remaining members of the Rookie 9 and Team Guy meet her in her office beforehand. Ever since they heard that Naruto had returned, they had been hounding her to find out where he was. And every single one of them received the same answer: be patient and all will be revealed. They had all assumed that being summoned was in response to that. So they were all on time and all accounted for, except Kakashi. That man can never be on time, can he? Sakura complained. I don't know how you managed to put up with him for so long. Forehead. I mean really, added Ino. Before Ino and Sakura could start their friendly insults between the 2 of them, Neji coughed. The 2 females stopped and looked at the Hyuga. What? Both Ino and Sakura said in chorus. I'm sure that if you would be patient, Hokage-sama would tell you why we are here. Neji replied coolly. The had both turned to see Lady Tsunade sitting at her desk strumming her fingers as the 2 young women had began their bickering. She sighed. Thank you Neji. Now, are you two done? She sat there in silence. Neither one dared to answer. I'll take your silence as a yes. Over the past 2 days all of you have been wondering about Naruto. I wanted to all let you know that today you get your answers. I want you all to meet me on the top of the Hokage Tower in 1 hour. And Sakura? Hi? Please go and collect the Ichirakus. Tell them that they are requested at the tower in 1 hour as well. Dismissed, Tsunade said as she got up and walked out of the room. The ninja knew better than to question her. So they dispersed and did as they were told. An hour later those who were requested at the tower were all there. It had seemed that the whole village turned up for the announcement. Everyone was anxious as Tsunade, Jiraiya and Kakashi strolled up to the edge. Villagers of Konoha, your Hokage come to you on this day with wonderful news. After your honored council received the proof that they needed, I have the honor to inform you that the blood of the Namikaze still lives. Everyone in attendance fell silent. It was like everything, even the wildlife waited for what was next. Yes, the Yondaime's son lived and he has returned to the leaf. Namikaze-sama, please come out here. There was a pause, everyone began to look around excitedly. But no one came out. The murmurs began to rise up. Kakashi smiled as he turned to the Hokage monument. It seemed that people began to pick up on it and followed his gaze. Atop the fourth's head stood a tall blonde man with the fourth's battle jacket resting on his shoulders, blowing in the wind. And just as soon as he was noticed, he was gone. He appeared at the front of the tower. Everyone that was present gasped. There stood Naruto with a foxy grin. Villagers of Konoha, I present to you Yondaime's son, the last Namikaze, Naruto Namikaze. Tsunade said with great pride. The entire crowd grew eerily silent. The few that were standing atop the tower began to pale a bit, all except Naruto. He didn't dare back down. He knew who he was and after 12 years of being pushed around by these villagers, he had had enough. He wasn't the same little wet-nosed brat he was when he left. And he felt it was damn time that they all knew it. He didn't flinch and kept eye contact with the silent group of people at the bottom. Citizens of Konoha, I know what you all have thought of me for as long as I can remember. I have heard everything that you have whispered behind my back. I have put up with it for damn long enough. I am by no means arrogant enough to think that my name will buy anything from anyone. I'm not saying that you have to like me, I could really care less, but I want to let you know that I am not the same person I was when I left here and I will have respect. That is all I ask of you. He stopped speaking and waited on the onslaught of boos from down below him. Tsunade watched as he gave his speech with the pride of a mother. He had indeed become a fine man. One that she knew would make both of his parents proud. She looked at Jiraiya and he had a smirk on his face. Hell of a kid I must say. Jiraiya told her. He sure is. Not much for winning the people over though, basically he told them to kiss his ass. He's a bit too much like you. She replied. And you say that like it's a bad thing. He said sounding offended. Oh shut it, she said back to him. All of a sudden the crowd erupted. They were all cheering for Naruto. Naruto stood there stunned at the crowd's reaction. Too long had he been hated and now they were cheering in approval. The familiar warm breeze came through the town. When it surrounded Naruto he couldn't help but smile. He could feel his parents and that made everything okay. He turned away from the cheers and headed to where his friends stood. He looked at them as they stared back in awe. Sakura launched herself at him like she did the day he left. She had to jump up to throw her arms around his neck. He quickly caught her and returned the embrace. It's good to see you to Sakura-chan, Naruto said. It seemed that that was all that it took to break the ice. Everyone circled them and started throwing out questions. He put Sakura down and hushed everyone. Hey guys, take a breath. Look, I'm not going anywhere for a while and I want you all to come to my house and we can catch up. Is that okay? Your house? Dude, when did you get a house? Kiba questioned. It's my parents' place. And since I am the last Namikaze, it's now mine. But I promise that all will be answered, just be at the estate at 6. Will there be food? Choji asked. For Kami's sake Choji, we haven't seen Naruto in 5 years and you are worried about food? Ino yelled. Hey it's okay Ino, some things never change. Yes, there will be food Choji. Naruto said with a smile. Now you guys, I have a few things to prepare for tonight. So I'll see you guys. He waved to the group as he walked to the edge of the tower and hopped off. He landed in the middle of the dispersing crowd. A few of the villagers that were lingering walked up to him and offered a genuine smile before bowing and telling him, "Welcome home." There were even a few who ignored him, but there wasn't a single person who would dare to be rude to the young man after his speech. Naruto was able to walk around the village for once without the nervous feeling in the pit of his stomach. He didn't have to worry about how he was going to be treated. Even though he didn't think that people should treat him like a prince because of his name, he didn't really mind that they were not as hateful. That made a stroll through the village a peaceful thing, whereas 5 years ago, even with all that he had done for the people, was something that would not have happened. He made a lap around the village, mingling and talking with whomever approached him. He even stopped by the park and talked to some of the kids that were brave enough to walk up to him. After, he headed for a place he had considered a second home before he left, Ichiraku's ramen stand. He entered the stand and sat down. Neither the store owner nor Iyame were in the front. After a few minuets of waiting, he sighed. "Hey, what does a man have to do to get a bowl of ramen in this place?" Naruto yelled. Iyame came from around the back with an apologetic smile on her face. "I am sorry, sir. We did not hear you come in," Iyame said as she bowed. When she looked up at the man sitting there, her smile vanished. Naruto had a serious look on his face. And keeping with the seriousness he was feigning, he crossed his arms and closed his eyes. "You would think that I haven't spent enough money here. I should be outraged." Not being able to keep the facade going, he let his ear-to-ear grin show. "But it's good thing that I'm not. Because I am starving." "Welcome home, Naruto. What will it be?" Iyame asked. How about we start from the top of the menu and work our way down? It's been a while. And there is not one person that I have found in all my travels with Jiraiya that can match the ramen at Ichiraku's. Father, we are going to be very busy. One of everything we offer," Iyame shouted. Her aging father stepped out from the kitchen with a bewildered look on his face. When he saw the tall blonde standing there with that identifying smile, he knew what they were in for. "Well, that makes sense. It's Naruto. I'll get started right away." With that, the old man vanished and started manufacturing large amounts of ramen for the bottomless pit in human skin. After Naruto cleaned the stand out of all the stock of ramen they had, he paid the large bill, bowed and confirmed that he would indeed see them both at his house in a few hours. He walked off to gather the things that he would need to entertain the 20 or so people that he had invited over. 6 o'clock came rather quickly and everyone was excited. Naruto stood at the gates of the compound waiting for everyone to get there. He had closed the gates and activated the seals. He had decided to go with a little dramatic effect on the group for 2 reasons. 1. He wanted them all to know that only he could open the seals, and 2. The majority of them had never been on the other side of the compound's walls. Anxious as she was to see her teammate, Sakura was the first to show up. She waved when she saw him standing there at the gates. She quickened her pace a bit. She was greeted by a smile. "Hey Sakura-chan, glad you could make it. I'm glad that you are home, Naruto. It's been a lonely 5 years without you here," Sakura said. "But why are we standing outside?" "Well, I figured one of the questions that would be asked of me would be about the proof given to the council. It's kind of easier to show that to explain," he said as he felt himself relax and place his hands behind his head. "Oh, well that makes sense then," Sakura said, feeling a bit uneasy just standing there. "Sakura-chan, there is no need to be nervous. I'm still me, I'm still Naruto," he said with a small smile. "Now, tell me how you have been." "Well, I have been lonely without you around. I took you for granted. You were like a ball of energy that everyone thrived off of whether they knew it or not. The only thing I could do was what you told me to do. I trained. I busted my ass. Tsunade Shisho is a slave driver when it comes down to it," Sakura explained. "Yeah, tell me about it. You should see Ero Sennin. He's a monster. And you would never think it, would you?" "No, you really wouldn't?" Sakura began. "Hey forehead, did you shush in here or what?" Ino yelled. Sakura blushed a little when she saw Ino, Shikamaru and Choji walking up the path. Not far behind the 3 were Hinata, Neji, and Shino. They all walked up to where Naruto and Sakura were standing. "So, Naruto, why are we standing on the outside of your estate? Shouldn't we be on the other side?" "Neji Nisan, I'm sure Naruto-kun has a good reason for why we are here instead of inside, right Naruto-kun?" Hinata whispered the last part. Her sudden boost of confidence faded as soon as she looked up at the blonde man. A blush came over her face. "Right, you are Hinata. We are waiting for everyone to show up so I can demonstrate the power of the security system here. The others should be along shortly. Yeah, well, we will be here all night if we are waiting on Kakashi-sensei. He is still always late, Sakura said with a sigh. A saddened look crossed Naruto's face briefly before he replied, sometimes his tardiness should be overlooked, he has his reasons. But we are in luck. Everyone quirked an eyebrow at his comment, they had no idea what he meant. That is a troublesome comment, Naruto. Care to explain? Shikamaru asked in his lazy tone. Sure. 1. Kakashi already knows how everything works, and 2. He is on his way right now, along with 2 Sannin and Shizune. They should be coming up that path any second now. And just how do you know that? Ino asked. What, don't believe me? Ask Hinata, Neji, or even Shino, they are there. She turned and looked at the 3. Well, Byakugan, Hinata and Neji said in unison as their eyes came to life. The 2 looked over in the area that Naruto had said. Shino's bugs began to stir as they sensed the chakra. All 3 nodded in agreement. How could you know that, Naruto? Ino asked again. You want to know the truth? I can sense chakra at a great distance. Plus with the breeze, I can smell Ba-chan's sake. Naruto said with a cheesy grin. Everyone smiled and chuckled as they saw the 4 heads bobbing up over the horizon. The group of 4 arrived and just like the others asked why they were standing outside of a closed gate, and they got the same answer as the others. They stood there conversing with each other when they heard Naruto sigh out loud. What's wrong, Naruto-kun? Hinata asked, a little louder than before. She was starting to become comfortable around everyone more and more. Naruto looked at her and thought about how she was before he left. He should feel grateful that she even spoke that loudly. Well, you know how I can sense chakra and all? Naruto began. Before he could finish saying what he was going to say, the crowd of 11 saw a large cloud of dust rising from the path leading to the compound. Through the clouds of dust and dirt they could hear 2 very familiar voices screaming about the flames of youth. Everyone's sweat dropped at the oncoming green-clad ninja duo. They arrived and doubled over, breathing heavy. Well done, Lee. Yash, your flames are indeed strong, and I am glad that I could challenge myself with a small race. You are a splendid ninja as always. Yash, thank you, Guy-sensei. I am most grateful for the race in order to fuel my flames to new heights. Oi, I don't care if you hug, but come on, don't cry. Naruto yelled over their over-exuberant sobs. Lee, where is Ten-Ten? I thought you were going to get her? Neji asked his teammate. Ten-chan, she was with us. Lee began. You could feel the killer intent leaking off of Ten-Ten as she came up the path. Next to her was a very nervous-looking Kiba. I'm going to kill that spandex-loving. Ten-Ten, you know how they are. You should calm down and put away the scrolls. Killing him won't be a good thing for the village. We kind of need him. And you are dating Lee. Kiba pleaded with the weapons mistress. She sighed and looked at Kiba. Kiba gulped hard and held his hands up. I'm just saying. Kiba began. Yeah, I know. Ten-Ten said. Lee ran up to Ten-Ten when she got closer. He threw himself at her legs and wrapped his arms around her legs. Please, Ten-chan, I am sorry for leaving you behind. I will do 500 laps on my hands. Lee tried. She shot up her hand to cut him off. He looked at her baffled. Don't start that crap either. You just don't leave your girlfriend behind like that, damn it. You will make it up to me later. Understand? He offered her a gleaming smile, and before he could even stick his thumb up to complete the pose, she grabbed his hand and looked at him. Sorry, Ten-chan, I get carried away, Lee said in one of the most normal voices Naruto has ever heard him speak in. To the others, this was common. But to Naruto, who had no idea that they were together, he was stunned. He had always thought that she had had a thing for Neji. He cleared his throat and everyone turned around and looked at him. Well, I didn't see that coming. Is there any other couples that I have missed? Naruto said. Naruto, man, you have been gone for 5 years, you have missed a lot. Kiba said as he walked up to Hinata and threw an arm around her shoulder and kissed her on the cheek. Hina-chan and I have been dating for 2 years now. Well, congrats, man. I am happy for you too. Lee and Ten-Ten too. Naruto said. Thanks, man. Why are we out here? Kiba asked. I wish the rest would come together. I am tired of answering the same question. Naruto sighed. Kiba-kun, Naruto-kun wants to show us how the security system works. Hinata explained for Naruto. Oh, okay. Well, I saw Konohamaru, Uruka and the Ichirakus coming up behind us. Good, that's the last of them, Naruto said. He waited as the three arrived and before they could ask he held up a hand. Glad you could make it. Before you ask, we are out here so you can see the security system that my father placed on this estate. This is the proof that Ba-chan spoke of earlier. My father was a seal master and such, he placed these blood seals, he explained as he pointed to the blank paper on the gate. All over the compound. I am the only person who can open them because I am of Namikaze blood. I wanted to show it to you all, since you are my precious people, plus it looks really cool. Naruto nipped his finger and swiped it on the seal. The people who had never seen it before were in awe. They just watched as it basically came to life. Then as the gates were pushed open by Naruto, everyone's jaws dropped as they saw what the compound looked like after Naruto had finished cleaning it up. Welcome to the Namikaze estate, Naruto said with a smile. The crowd entered the compound and seemed to take in everything. Even Jiraiya and Tsunade were in awe of the place. Even as hard as Kakashi was trying, he couldn't help but drink in the atmosphere. He had missed this place. A part of him felt safe and at home. Even though no one could see it, Kakashi had a large smile on his face. Ino walked behind Sakura. For a short time, Ino was at a loss for words. But it didn't take her long to find them. She elbowed Sakura and leaned closer to her. I bet you wished you hadn't turned down all those dates from Naruto now, huh? Yeah, I mean no? I mean Ino pig, you need to watch yourself. Naruto and I are friends, we are teammates. Sakura whispered back at Ino. You can't use that line, look at Hinata and Kiba and then there is Ten and Lee. And you know damn well if it would have been Sasuke-kun asking you, you wouldn't have hesitated. Ino shot back. Yay, well, we all have to grow up sometime. I'm over Sasuke. And you can't say that you wouldn't have done the same. Up until the day he turned traitor, yeah I would have. But he's not the same person, but then again neither is Naruto. However, there is one of them who had come out of this for the better and it sure as hell isn't that damn Uchiha. Ino said as she sauntered off. Sakura knew she was right. But she didn't even know if she had feelings for Naruto. While he was here she had never given him the time of day. She never gave herself a chance to find out what there was with Naruto. She really had only focused on Sasuke. But they both left her, and only Naruto came back. But was there more? She shook it off and caught up with the rest of the group. As the group turned the corner around the main house, they all stopped dead in their tracks. There amongst the beautiful land were 5 Narutos. There were 2 manning the barbecue pit, 2 setting up chairs, and 1 coming in and out of the kitchen placing things on a large table. And they all had on bright orange aprons. When they heard the people behind them they turned, waved and then went back to the task at hand. Are they cooking barbecue? Choji asked. They sure are, Choji. I had to have 2 cooks because I knew you were coming. Naruto laughed. Jiraiya walked up and placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder. He leaned in. Is it almost done? Yay, just about. Why? Naruto asked. 'Cause I like your barbecue and I want to make sure I get some before Choji cleans it out. Jiraiya answered as he grabbed a plate and made his way to the pit to stand in line. Hey bro, when did you learn to cook? I thought it was all about ramen? Konohamaru asked. Don't get me wrong, ramen is still my favorite, but I'm nothing compared to Ichiraku's and well, I had to learn because Mr. Toady over there is horrible at cooking. So it was either that or starve. The rest of the night went by smoothly. Everyone talked and gossiped about what had been going on since Naruto left. Naruto had been caught completely up to speed on everything. Hinata was dating Kiba. Ten was dating Lee. Konohamaru was dating Hanabi, Hinata's little sister. Shikamaru was dating Tamari from Suna. Both Ino and Sakura had tried to date a few civilians, but they never ended well, but now Ino and Choji were kind of seeing each other. Neji was still Neji, and after much nagging by all females present, he revealed that he did indeed have a girlfriend, but refused to give her name. Naruto told them all about his training and travels with Jiraiya. He told them about some of the battles and learning about setting up and maintaining a spy network. And he knew it was coming, but he was hoping that it wasn't. Leave it to Ino though, she had been dying to ask that one question. So, Naruto, on all of these travels that you have just told us about, have you had any lady friends? Dates? Girl LLL friends? Ino said sweetly with a wicked smirk on her face as her eyes quickly cut to Sakura and then back to Naruto. She did this to let Sakura know that she asked this question for her. I wouldn't say girlfriends. I went on a few dates, we really didn't stay in one place long enough. He sighed. His thoughts settled on one girl, but he didn't want to bring her up. Jiraiya did a really loud fake cough and everyone turned to look at him and his lecherous grin. Don't lie, brat, what about? Before he could finish, the look that Naruto gave him shut him up on the spot. He looked at his godson with an odd look. I'd rather not, Naruto said calmly. Ah, come on, we told you about us. Who is she and where is she? And if you like her, why don't you bring her here? Ino squealed. We were never officially together, but whenever we'd go back to her village, I would go see her. Naruto said. Well, that tells us, nothing really, spill Namikaze. Ino demanded. Fine, it's really not that big of a deal. Her name is Yuri and she's a kunoichi from the mist. The blonde said. Well, you should invite her to come visit. We would love to meet her. Sakura piped in with a surprisingly genuine smile on her face. I don't know how long I am here for, but she might like that. She always did want to meet you all whenever I would talk about you. Naruto said as he was thinking. He really did miss her. He knew that if they would see each other more that it would actually be a real relationship instead of what it was now. Tsunade took this break in the conversation to stand up and make a quick little announcement. She cleared her throat and looked at the blonde Namikaze with a smirk. Well, I want to be the first to congratulate you on your victory of taking back what was yours. You did good, kid, but there is more, and I asked to be the one to tell you this. The council met again after the announcement, and they discussed you returning to the Leaf, not just as a civilian, but as a shinobi. And I couldn't agree more. It just took them 5 years to figure out how wrong they had been for the past 12 years. So, if you are willing, I have a Hite 8 to give you. Tsunade said as she pulled out the headband. Are they doing this because of my name? Are they kissing my ass now because I am a Namikaze? If so, then I don't want it. Naruto said, offended. Face it, kid, if you would have grown up with the name Namikaze, you would have dealt with ass kissing anyway. That's just how it goes sometimes. Tsunade replied. Yeah, and we all know how well that turned out for Uchiha, don't we? Naruto shot back. Everyone stiffed at the barb made at the expense of Sasuke. Many of them there had been on the first retrieval mission. They all had a sense of distaste for the missing nin. Even though Sakura knew what he was and what he had done, she seemed shocked at Naruto's response. The Naruto that she knew wasn't a bitter-sounding person, even though he had every right to be. Part of her had felt like since Naruto came home that it would be a matter of time before Sasuke came strolling back in, a changed man, much like Naruto. But another part knew that it would never happen and it saddened her. Tsunade tossed the leaf Hite 8 to Naruto and sighed. Look, Naruto, you deserve this. They are going to suck up to you. They want to get back in your good graces and there is nothing wrong with enjoying it a little. After the way they treated you, but don't let the attention get to you. That's where that bastard went wrong. He expected it whether or not if he deserved it. You bust your ass for what you have. He wanted it handed to him. And that's what got him where he is now, and you are better than him. The group around him nodded in approval of what she had said. Shikamaru looked at his watch and yawned. It was now 10:30. He stood and stretched. Well, Naruto, it's getting late and I am tired. So I think I am going to call it a night. He extended his hand to the tall ninja. Thanks for the invite. It was pleasant. Everyone else saw the time and started to stand to leave as well. They all offered him their thanks and said how much they enjoyed it. As everyone was walking out, Naruto pulled Sakura and Kakashi aside. We need to talk. I know it's late, but I want to get this out while we are on the subject. There are plenty of beds if you want to just stay. Naruto said in a very serious manner. Okay, Kakashi said as he put away his book. Let's talk then. Both Sakura and Kakashi followed Naruto into the house. There in the living room already sat Tsunade, Jiraiya and Shizune. Naruto motioned for the two to sit down. You might as well be comfortable, this isn't a short conversation. Naruto explained. What's this about Naruto? Sakura questioned. I have some information on Sasuke, and since you both are part of Team 7, I wanted you to be here so you can hear what I have to say and the reasons for saying it. I would ask that neither of you get defensive. I have good reasons for this. Are we good? Naruto answered. Hi, they both replied. I have been outside of Konoha for 5 years and along with Daifu. Daifu? Sakura interrupted. Yes, Daifu. Jiraiya is my godfather, but that is neither here nor there at the moment. Please Sakura-chan, this is important. Naruto said patiently. Sorry, please continue. The two of us have had contact with the Uchiha. And after such, I am saying that all efforts of retrieval need to cease, immediately. And why is that? Tsunade questioned. We have run into him on 3 different occasions. The first and third were accidents. The second one, we were out looking for him, not to bring him back, but to bring him down. Naruto continued. We almost had him, but his groupies showed up and helped him get away. The both of us took damage and decided that it was better if we didn't hunt him anymore. The first encounter was rather odd. He seemed really unstable in the mind. He never even engaged me, but was talking like he had never left. It was like I was his friend and brother in his mind. Not just a teammate, he really acted like we had grown up together being best friends. When I called him on the battle at the Valley of the End, he seemed troubled by the recount of his actions. He actually ran from me like he was scared. Naruto paused for a moment. It seemed like he was still trying to understand the things that had happened between the two. When he was younger he had always tried to view Sasuke as a friend, even a brother, but he knew damn well that they were never anything like Sasuke was saying. It was almost as if in his mind he had merged him and Itachi together, made them one person. He had shared that idea with Jiraiya, but decided not to with the others. Due to his unstable nature, Naruto and I thought it best if we look for him and attempt to eliminate any threat that he may pose. That's when we found him. The battle went on for hours. I was injured. He used that damn sword and sliced open my leg, so the battle was mainly between Naruto and the Uchiha. Naruto held his own for the whole thing and finally managed to get the upper hand when his damn team hubby showed up. They grabbed the prick and ran off. I couldn't follow and Naruto was getting close to the point of chakra exhaustion. Jiraiya recounted. So he has replaced us? He has a new team? Sakura whispered. I don't think we ever really mattered to him. Sakura, don't let it get to you. Kakashi told her as he gave a pat on the back for comfort. He could care less. After that we stopped looking for him. We wanted to know more about hubby and what they could do. So we started looking around, talking to anyone who would tell us anything about them. We stumbled upon this one hideout of Orochimaru that we had thought was abandoned, but it wasn't. He was using it. It almost came to blows, but we were able to get the hell out of there before anything bad happened. But not before he and I had a little talk. Naruto said. No need to get hostile, the Uchiha said as he waved a hand at his team behind him. He signaled them to stand down. This is just a chance meeting between old friends, isn't that right, Naruto? Whatever, what do you want? You wouldn't have called your goons off if you didn't want something, Uchiha. Naruto spat. Such anger, and here I thought you were my brother. But however Uzumaki, you are correct. I do want something. The Uchiha sneered at his former teammate. Well, I don't have all damn day. Say whatever the hell you want to say and be on you damned way. I understand that you were basically kicked out of the Leaf because you didn't succeed in bringing me back. I want it made clear that I have no intention of ever returning to that piss-poor village. I want you to deliver a message to that old hag of a Hokage. Tell her that any and all Leaf ninja that are sent after me will be killed on sight, even Kakashi and Sakura. I hold no attachments to the past, to Team 7, that is all. Sasuke and his team turned and vanished back into the hidden lair of Orochimaru. They had dark and evil things to plan and Naruto and his old sensei didn't really interest them that much. That was the last time we saw him. We have no idea where he is or what he is planning as of right now. That was 2 months ago. Naruto finished. All eyes fell on the Hokage as she processed the information. You could feel the killer intent that started to leak off of her. It seemed that everyone held their breath without even realizing that they had done so. Old hag? I'll hang him up, cut his balls off and make him wear them as earrings. Tsunade screamed. Earrings, Tsunadeheim? Really? That's twisted, even for you. Jiraiya managed to say. She turned so fast that Jiraiya didn't even realize how close she was to his face. She glared at him until he shied away. He held his hands up and closed his eyes. Earrings it is, poor bastard. The last part he mumbled to himself. He didn't even realize that he brought his hands down to his crotch in a protective manner. Tsunade calmed herself and sat up straight. If the little traitorous bastard doesn't want to be brought back, then we will just have to dispose of the body before we get back. Hi, Hokage-sama, the remaining 5 answered. It had been a long night for everyone involved in the conversation regarding the traitor. Naruto had offered Sakura, Tsunade, Shizune and Kakashi lodgings for the night, which they accepted, gratefully. Not one of the four really cared to go home after such an intense glimpse of one that they had held in such high esteem. Naruto had offered Jiraiya one of the smaller houses for him to call his own. He wanted his godfather to have a home in the leaf, some place to come back to. Plus, Naruto couldn't use all of the houses, so who would be better than Jiraiya to claim one as home? Naruto had claimed his parents' bedroom as his own, since he was now the master of the estate. In all the cleaning and sprucing up that he did, he couldn't bring himself to part with any of his parents' personal things. So, he decided to seal them in scrolls and store them. He wanted to keep them, but at the same time felt odd keeping them up in the room with him. The only personal items that he didn't seal were photographs. It had taken him longer to complete the cleaning because he had stumbled upon their photos. He placed one, in particular, by the bedside. It was a picture of his mother and father. His parents were outside in the gardens on the grounds. They both wore huge smiles and Minato rested a hand on his pregnant wife's large stomach. Every morning when he woke, he looked at that picture and prayed for his parents. On this morning, he woke up, jumped in the shower for a quick cleaning and then put on fresh clothes. He decided on a black pair of ninja pants, one of his favorite pieces of clothing because they were always so comfortable to him. He grabbed an orange sleeveless shirt, that wasn't tight, but it wasn't baggy. It fit him just right. Even though he knew that it was foolish to dress head to toe in orange, he still had a thing for the color. And as one would look around the house, it seemed to be a genetic thing. He decided to forego shoes and made his way down the stairs barefooted. There were no noises to be heard. Kakashi and Sakura were in two of the spare rooms in the main house. Tsunade and Shizune had opted for one of the smaller houses and Jiraiya was forced to stay in his own little house by promise of death if he attempted to sneak into Tsunade's room during the night. Knowing that she may not kill him, however, he knew that she would do evil and painful things to him. Sadly, he stayed home and worked on his upcoming Icha Icha book. Naruto thought that his guests might be hungry when they got up, so he made his way to the kitchen to begin making breakfast for 6. He was making eggs as a clone was busy with the bacon and sausage. The smell began to carry through the house and eventually, a horde of hungry-looking guests began to arrive one by one to the kitchen table. Ah, Naru, bacon, eggs and sausage, what have I done to deserve such good food? Jiraiya said with a cheesy grin plastered on his face. Oh please, you aren't the reason, our other guests are the reasons, and don't act like you aren't used to eating my cooking. You spoiled old geezer. Naruto fussed. Yeah, Naruto's clone yelled as he spun around and poked Jiraiya with his spatula. Everyone in the room watched as the Jiraiya, Naruto and Naruto's clone argued and fussed with each other. All they could do is laugh at the three. Tsunade laced her fingers together and cleared her throat. The three fussing men stopped and looked at her. I'm hungry. When is it going to be ready? She asked as she sipped on a cup of coffee. Naruto's clone whirled around shaking his spatula at Lady Tsunade. Naruto paled at his clone's actions and before the clone could start fusing at her he flung his own spatula at the clone's head and dispelled it. She glared at Naruto. Heh, clones, they have a mind of their own, hey? Naruto stammered. Just give me some food, brat. Sakura stood up from where she sat. Since there is only one of you now I will help you if you would like. Where are the plates? Right here. Naruto reached over where he was standing. He took out 6 plates and handed them to her. Thank you Sakura-chan. Sakura helped Naruto by setting the table with the plates, glasses and utensils. And since the clone that was taking care of the meat had been dispelled, she picked up his spatula and headed to the sink and when the water was heard running Jiraiya looked at her. Sakura, why are you washing it? Ever heard of the 8-second rule? Jiraiya asked jokingly. Well, Jiraiya-sama, it was much longer than 8 seconds, but that's not what bothers me. Sakura answered back. Well, what is bothering you then? The toad sage questioned. It touched you, she replied as she began scrubbing it. Spoken like a true apprentice of Tsunade. And you said I was rubbing off on Naru. Please, I don't know if the world is ready for another one of you. Jiraiya finished his sentence and then processed what he had said. All the color drained from his face. He looked around the room and saw 2 fuming kunoichis and 3 faces filled with shock and pity. They all knew what was about to happen to him. Got to go, he said very quickly as he vanished. I'll get you damn perverted old goat. Both fuming women screamed in unison. The room was quiet as the two said women were calming down. Naruto had been tending to the eggs, and when they were finished, he whirled around. Who wants eggs? Naruto and Sakura dished out the food to the remaining people. They sat in silence for the whole meal. The finished breakfast and Naruto stood up and stretched. He looked at the window and got an idea. Hey guys, how about a trip to the hot springs? Naruto asked. That would be nice, Naruto, but those are on the other side of town and I don't really think anyone is up to traveling. Shizune started. Not those, I mean the one in the back. You didn't see it last night? The estate has its own hot springs and it's wonderful. Naruto explained. Oh, no, I didn't see it. Shizune said while trying to look out the window. Maybe you would have seen it if you weren't trying to beat Choji to the barbecue all night long. I mean, how many servings did you have, Shizune? Tsunade questioned her dark-haired friend. I mean, have you seen the kid eat? I almost lost a finger. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, would you like to use it? We are in mixed company, Naruto. I don't think that would be wise. Kakashi piped in. Yay, I bet you don't. You are just as bad as Daifu, and I never said you couldn't go in with clothes. I mean, I do have some shirts and shorts for the ladies, and you can just keep your pants on. Naruto answered. That sounds good. I did see it last night and it looked great. Sakura said. Good, I'll be right back, Naruto said before he left the room in search of clothing for the ladies. He had no trouble finding clothes for Sakura and Shizune, but he was having a lot of difficulty find a shirt for Tsunade. He sighed. Why does she have to be so big in the chest? I mean, I don't have anything that large. He closed his eyes and a clone poofed in behind him. What can I do for you, boss man? The clone said. I need you to go into Jiraiya house and get me a large shirt for Ba-chan. Nothing I have will work, he said to his clone. Do you think his clothes will fit the big tatas? He stared at the clone. Tatas? He shook his head. Just hurry. The clone nodded and ran downstairs. Naruto could hear his feet going down the stairs and into the kitchen. Naruto paused. Oh great, he's going through the kitchen. I hope he doesn't say anything. He sat there for a minute listening to the muffled talking that was taking place downstairs. He could hear Tsunade's voice get louder and then he stiffened. He wiggled his nose as the clone's memories entered his mind. If that had been a real person, their nose would have been broken for sure. Damn clones. Why are mine so rebellious? He sighed and another one poofed in the room. Before he could say anything, Naruto held up his hand. Go to Jiraiya's house, find me a large shirt, and don't go through the kitchen. Hell, go through the window. I don't care, just go. He stood up with the clothing in his hands and made his way to the stairs. As he was rounding the corner to the kitchen, he paused as he felt Tsunade's killer intent leaking off of her. He hung his head and walked in the room. Hey brat, what the hell is wrong with your damn clones? Do they all act like that? Pretty much pain in the ass, aren't they? Naruto said. Hey, I heard that. I'm not a pain in the ass. The new clone said as he came in with a large shirt. For once I get one that listens. Thank you. Dispel. The original said. The clone poofed out of existence and Naruto handed Tsunade the shirt and a pair of shorts. Then he handed the rest to Shizune and Sakura. He looked at Kakashi and motioned to the door. Ladies, feel free to join us when you have change, Naruto said as he and Kakashi walked out the door and made their way to the hot spring. They both sighed as they eased their way in. Oh wow, this is better than the villages, Naruto said. Oh yay, Minato-sensei took pride in his hot spring. And he had every right to. How are you doing with all of this? With being here now? Naruto held his hands up motioning to the estate. It isn't as hard as I thought it would be. The day you opened it for the first time, I couldn't handle it. It was like stepping back in time. But I am glad that it is yours. I'm glad that it has a new master, Kakashi said with a smile in his eye. Kakashi sighed and looked back at Naruto. It's so weird, sometime it's like, they're still here? Naruto finished. Yay. It's so odd but yet, calming. If you think you feel them just anywhere, I want to show you this spot. It's unreal. I want to build a small temple there. It's so peaceful at that one spot. Maybe you could help me build it? I thought that I might have been going crazy at first. I'd like to help if you are sure. Wouldn't have asked if I wasn't sure, Naruto said with a smile. That sat in silence for a little while longer. Then when they heard the door opening, Kakashi turned to Naruto quickly. How about we don't really mention the previous conversation? Don't want to seem soft for caring? Naruto asked with sarcasm. No, I have a reputation. I know that, and it's not as cool as you think it is. But I won't say anything about you being a big softie, although I think the girls would love it. Naruto said. He was enjoying messing with his former sensei. The ladies got in the water slowly. They were commenting on how much better these were than the one in the village. They were dropping the hint that they wanted to be able to use them more. Naruto caught on to what they were trying to do and changed the subject. So, Ba-chan, am I still a genin? Naruto asked. You would have been if it wasn't for the testimony of one of the 3 Sannin. Jiraiya vouched for your ability. He actually said that you were more of the Jonin rank than Chunin, but you will be a Chunin. She explained. A sour look came over his face. He knew where he stood and he knew that he was above Chunin easily. Why am I not Jonin if Jiraiya said I was? Because, I am going to ease you back into the swing of things, like taking orders for one. However, when you have proven yourself worthy, you will be made Jonin no questions asked. Deal? Do I have a choice? Nope. Well then I guess you have yourself a deal then. Naruto said as he rolled his eyes. Good, then I want you, Kakashi and Sakura in my office at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning for your first mission. Hi, Hokage-sama, the 3 said ninjas answered. They 5 sat in the hot spring for a little while longer enjoying each other's small talk. And one by one they all excused themselves because of their duties. Sakura waited for all of the others to leave, which Naruto was actually glad for because there was something that he had wanted to ask her. They sat in silence for a while until Naruto spoke up. So, how have you really been these last 5 years? I told you how I have been. Sakura-chan, you can't lie to me. I may have not been here for 5 years, but I know you, come on, tell me. Well, I have been really lonely and depressed. Why so? He asked softly. Because you all left me. I know Kakashi-sensei was still here, but I mean after you and Sasuke left. I just threw myself into training and working in the hospital. He went on missions. Just recently have I started missions again as the medical ninja on the team. Have you dated? No, I never allowed time for anything other than training and working. Why? Well, I am trying to figure out where you are with the whole Sasuke thing. Do you still have hope for him? Are you still hung up on him? Naruto asked with a worried look in his eye. Honestly, she sighed as she looked down. I know that he is a lost cause and it saddens me. I miss the way things used to be. I was naive enough to think that that was happy, but I know now that it wasn't, that it was an illusion of mine because I wanted to be happy. I must have made you miserable. I was too wrapped up in what Sasuke thought of me to notice you, and I kind of regret that now. You are what I always hoped you would be. Sakura-chan. She knew where he was going with what he started. He was about to say something about Yuri. You have Yuri, and when you spoke of her, as sad as I was that I lost my chance, it made me happy. I am so thankful that you found someone. I was so worried about you being alone, and now you aren't. There was a bit of a silence between them. But it didn't feel awkward at all. It was a comfort between friends. Do you miss her? Yeah, I do. She's great. I think you and her would get along. Tell me about her. I want to know more about the love of your life. Naruto blushed hard. He had never really thought of Yuri as that. But it was nice. When he heard Sakura say that, he knew it was true. It made him miss her all the more. She's great. She's everything that I could have wanted. She's a kunoichi, so she can keep me in line, and she does very well, he said with a smile and a distant look in his eyes. What does she look like? She's beautiful. Sakura just sat there and waited for him to continue with his description, but I never came. He just sort of sat there with a big smile on his face. Well? Oh, sorry, I was just thinking of her. I don't know, she's tall, long white hair, light blue eyes. I mean words don't do her justice. You'd have to see her. And when would that be? I'm not sure. Since I am back for now, I mean we are starting missions back up tomorrow. It depends when I can go see her. I guess I'll never meet her then. Tsunade Shisho is a damn slave driver now. I bet she doesn't even touch Jiraiya. For such a laid-back person, he can be insane when it comes to training and mission-type things. You would never peg him as such though, damn pervert is probably peeping somewhere. More than likely. If he gets caught by Shisho, I'll see him tonight in the hospital. Oh crap. I have duty at the hospital now. Sakura jumped out of the hot spring and ran towards the house. She had her hand in the air waving and yelling as she went. Naruto couldn't make out her goodbyes. He just sat in the hot spring enjoying the silence. I wonder if Kakashi wants to work on the temple today? I think I'll go find him. Naruto said to himself as he got up and started walking to the house. Naruto and Kakashi spent the rest of the day working on the temple in memory of Minato and Kushina. It was a very peaceful time. Kakashi had opened up a little more to Naruto about the two. He told him a few stories that always made him laugh. All in all, it was a good day. Sakura and Naruto sat outside of Tsunade's office waiting on Kakashi. The two had been about 10 minutes early and now it was going on 2 hours of tardiness, courtesy of Kakashi. Oi, I didn't think that he would be this late after everything. Naruto complained. He never shows up on time. Still, I don't even know why I bother showing up on time anymore. All we do is sit for at least 2 hours. Sakura added in agreement with her teammate. I wonder what our first mission will be. Naruto asked out loud. Hey, probably tracking down Kakashi's lazy ass. Close, real close. Kakashi said with a smile evident in his eye. Man, you seriously need to wake up earlier. What the hell did you do when you were Anbu? Naruto commented. Sakura and Naruto stood up and followed Kakashi into the office. Tsunade looked up from her paperwork and smirked. Even though Kakashi was 2 hours late, she welcomed the break. Ah, right on time, Hitaki, she said with sarcasm. He looked up from his book and started to ramble out one of his lame, overused excuses when she held up her hand. Save it, I could give a shit about one of your excuses. Think of something new. Anybody who knows you, knows why you are late anyway. She took a breath and continued. Now, about your mission, before going on it, I wish for a test. A test? What do you mean Shisho? Sakura asked. It has been a decent amount of time since you three have worked together. And it's time you showed each other what the others are capable of. And I am feeling oddly sentimental. Tsunade fished out 2 bells and tossed them to Kakashi. Doubt you will be able to read this time, Kakashi-sensei. Sakura said with confidence. Sadly, I think I agree with you there. Kakashi said as he put away his book. Shame too, I was getting to the good part. After the training session, do we leave for the mission? Naruto asked. Sakura and Kakashi looked at their blonde teammate. They saw him dead serious. Gone was the loud-mouthed little boy that they once knew. Naruto was all about business when it came to missions now. Hi, your mission will take you to the mist. I need you three to travel there as ambassadors and deliver these documents to their Mizukage. Not that I am complaining, Hokage-sama, but why not just send a messenger? Why send 3 ninja? Kakashi questioned. Ordinarily I would, but it's a show of good faith that I trust them enough to kill 3 of my best shinobi. Plus Naruto is on friendlier terms with the Mist Ninja than most. They won't harm him or you if you are with him. Humph, my travels to the Mist weren't well known to the Mizukage. And I was tolerated because of Yuri. She can be damn scary when she's pissed. Naruto explained. So you had a girl protecting you? Kakashi's eye crinkled as he tried to stifle his laughter. I'll have you know that she is on par with our Anbu. Naruto looked at Kakashi and seemed to know what was coming next. Anbu who are in their prime. Well, I can't wait to meet her. Sakura said with a smile. Well, if you three are ready, you have a test to take. Tsunade said with a smirk. And I think I'll watch this one. Team 7 made their way to their old training grounds with Tsunade in tow. The 3 that were participating in the test were in the zone. They all were ready and cautious about the others. The biggest mystery to them would be Naruto. Naruto had been Mia for 5 years and they really had no idea what he was capable of. Kakashi had tried to get some information out of Jiraiya. Hey, Jiraiya-sama, what has Naruto been up to for these last years? What's he have in his arsenal? Kakashi asked. Can you keep a secret, Kakashi? Hi, good, so I can. Jiraiya said with an evil smirk. Kakashi-sensei, are you ready? Naruto asked in a mocking tone. He was trying to get an early rise out of Kakashi. Kakashi seemed to pick up on the tactic. As soon as you are Namikaze-sama. Wouldn't have it any other way. He reached behind him into a pouch and pulled out a pair of gloves. They looked almost just like the standard ninja gloves, however they were longer. They reached Naruto's elbows. Kakashi took note of the metal plates on the back of the hand and the almost fin-like ones on the side of both arms. Naruto fixed his gloves and rolled his shoulders back. He looked at Sakura and gave her a big smile. You ready, Sakura-chan? Bet your ass I am. Let's do this. She rolled her shoulders and cracked her knuckles. Kakashi lifted his Hite 8 and readied himself. Remember, intent to kill? Go. Before Kakashi's Sharingan could catch him, Naruto vanished in a yellow blur. Kakashi's eyes widened. Sakura used the chance to hide herself well. She knew that he was distracted. She looked up in a tree and saw Naruto sitting on a branch looking rather amused at Kakashi's reaction. All of a sudden, 6 Narutos walked from the bushes and surround Kakashi. I see you are still a fan of the clones, but I have to ask. Have you mastered it? Is that what I thought it was? No, that was not it. I feel no need to reveal that just yet. One of the clones spoke up. Then what was it? That? It was a mind trick. Movement of very high speed in addition to the yellow inside of my battle jacket. It makes the mind think that it is the Hirishin. But it is by no means so. The clones around Kakashi started to walk around him, slowly at first but then picking up speed as they went. They all threw up the battle jacket and it seemed like Kakashi was in the middle of a yellow hurricane. The bright color could be very distracting to a common enemy. But it could not fool the Sharingan. This is pointless, Naruto. I thought you of all people would know the workings of this eye. He said with a smirk. And he was practically singing, I can see you. The Naruto in the tree looked down at Sakura. He gave her a nod and she knew that she had an opening. Naruto had purposely drawn all attention to him so she would have a chance. She watched in awe as Kakashi was waiting for Naruto to do something amazing. He may be able to see into the moves, but he was so wrapped up into thinking about Naruto, he forgot about Sakura and therefore, never even looked for the underneath that he always preached about. The Naruto clones began to close in on Kakashi. Kakashi could feel them closing in and he knew that he would have to get out. He never picked up on the subtle movements of the clones. They had been herding him towards the bushes, closer to the waiting Sakura. Finally, Kakashi shushined out of the ever-shrinking circle of Narutos and landed just where Naruto had wanted. That was pointless, Naruto. I thought you would have picked up something better than that for Jiraiya. I'm disappointed, Kakashi replied with a bit of disgust. He knew that Naruto was holding back and it drove him crazy. Sakura jumped out of the bushes and grabbed Kakashi in a hold. She smirked as Naruto landed gracefully from his branch right in front of Kakashi. Disappointed, you say? Why? You should be proud. We were able to use teamwork efficiently and we got the bells with ease and we didn't even have to use any ninjutsu, except for the clones of course. Naruto said smugly. His projected confidence was a bluff. Both he and Sakura knew that this wouldn't be an easy thing. They knew that Kakashi Hitaki wasn't a well-known ninja for no reason. They both were aware of the level of skill that he possessed. They were toying with him so that he would underestimate them. Naruto was amazed at how well Sakura fell in line. When this test was over, he was confident that Team 7 would be better than before. In a poof of smoke, Sakura was holding a log. Tisk, tisk. Kakashi shook his head as he appeared on the other side of the two. And I brought out the Sharingan for this? You were both better when you were genin. Naruto never turned around to face Kakashi when he appeared behind him. He looked at Sakura and smirked. Taijutsu? He asked her in a voice that only she could hear. She returned his smirk. Love too. She squeezed the log that she was still hugging and it splintered off into thousands of pieces. She dusted off her hands and took out her gloves. Naruto turned around to face Kakashi as Sakura walked up next to the blonde. He took off his battle jacket and folded it. A clone appeared out of nowhere and took the jacket from his hands. Give this to Ba-chan. I don't want to get it dirty, Naruto said to the clone without ever taking his eyes off of Kakashi. Naruto stood there in his ninja attire, head to toe in black and mesh. The only color that could be seen on him was his blonde hair and blue eyes. Both Naruto and Sakura fell into their taijutsu stances. Finally, Kakashi said. The two rushed the older ninja and began to assault him at the same time. Their speed was incredible. Kakashi never knew that Sakura could move this fast and he still wondered how fast Naruto really was. Kakashi was absolutely on the defensive. Tsunade stood there in awe of Naruto and Sakura. It was like they were reading each other's minds. The flow of movements looked like they were dancing. Every punch thrown was in response to the punch the other just threw. Tsunade smiled and thought to herself, now this is what teamwork is supposed to look like. As Hokage, she couldn't be prouder of her ninja. She knew that Kakashi would sync up with them as well. Watching them was something that was mesmerizing. She didn't even notice Jiraiya walk up behind her. Hey, Haim. He walked over and observed the match. He laughed softly. He's come a long way, huh? Yes, he's incredible. He hasn't even done anything really, just some clones and now taijutsu. But I can't get over how well Sakura and he work together. He hasn't used anything but clones? And I thought he would want to show off. That kid has a mind like a sponge. He was and still is always eager to learn new jutsu. He'll have a field day in Minato's library. He hasn't gone in there yet? Tsunade questioned. He has, but he hasn't read too much yet. The two Sannin fell silent as they watched the match some more. Kakashi was starting to get tired. He knew he had to take one of the two out. Logically, Sakura was the best choice because she was the easier of the two to pick off. Naruto knew this and was not giving him a chance to do what he wanted. Hey Kakashi, how about we kick this up some more? Naruto asked. Kakashi's eyes widened when he noticed the metal plates on Naruto's gloves started to glow blue. The fin-like plates on the arms began to grow and sharpen. It was at that moment he realized why he had the plates manipulated into the shape that they were. He had thought that they were strictly for defense, but they were also for offense. They were chakra blades. All Naruto had to do was pump a little of his chakra into them and then they were deadly. Chakra blades? Kakashi questioned. He quickly pulled out two kunai in order to block. He knew that the blades could go through the kunai, but that was all he had on him. He had never thought Naruto would have such a weapon. Kakashi began to focus more on Naruto and less on Sakura. The minute that he turned his back to her, it was over. Naruto was in the process of bringing both blades down on his at once. Kakashi raised his kunai to brace for the impact. And then there was nothing. He looked at Naruto who had deactivated his blades. Naruto had an ear-to-ear grin on his face. Kakashi blinked. He turned and saw Sakura jingling the bells. She stuck her tongue out at him and smiled. "Ah, sensei, I thought it would have taken longer than that." Sakura said in a fake whine. "It's okay Kakashi, you can admit it. You underestimated us didn't you?" Naruto asked. "Chakra blades? Yeah, I would say so." Kakashi groaned as he pulled his hite down over his eye. "I'm impressed by you too though. You rarely gave me any openings, and when you did I think they were on purpose. You both have improved greatly." Tsunade and Jiraiya walked out into the clearing where the three ninja were standing. "Damn impressive you three," Tsunade said as she handed back Naruto's battle jacket. "Didn't want to get it dirty? It is a battle jacket." "Hi, I know that. But this wasn't a real battle was it?" Naruto said with a smirk. He unfolded the jacket and put it back on. "Now what about our mission?" "Calm down Naruto. We all know the reason why you are so excited about this mission, but let us catch our breath." Kakashi said as he was trying to steady his breathing. "Hey, don't lump me in with you sensei. I don't need to catch my breath." Sakura snorted at the older ninja. "Okay you three. Here are the documents that you need to deliver. Make sure that you three get these to the Mizukage himself. Wait for a reply, but there is no need to rush it. But don't take forever. I need to know the Mizukage's response to those documents. You are to be peaceful and not engage the ninjas unless it is absolutely necessary. You are ambassadors of Konoha, understand?" Tsunade explained. "Hi," they all replied in unison. "So these are the treaties?" Naruto asked. "Well, they are more like negotiations towards a treaty," Tsunade said as she winked at Naruto. "So it looks like you may be making a few more trips to the mist in the future." Naruto smiled and nodded. "Hi, Hokage-sama, no objections here." "Good, now you all go get ready, you leave in an hour." "How about you show up on time Kakashi?" Naruto said with a tone that showed his level of seriousness. "Will do." Kakashi looked at Naruto and knew that he was anxious to get to the mist to see his lady. He knew that that was something that you didn't mess with. Never come between a man and his woman, even more so when they were both powerful ninjas. Sakura and Kakashi vanished, leaving Naruto alone with Tsunade and Jiraiya. "Hey brat, you get to see your woman I want details," Jiraiya said. "Yeah, I'll be sure to tell Yuri-chan that." Naruto replied. "No, never mind, I was only kidding, I don't want to know anything." Jiraiya was trying desperately to backtrack his words. He did not want to piss Yuri off. He knew better. "I must meet this girl," Tsunade exclaimed. "Now if you two would excuse me. I have to prepare for a mission," Naruto said before he shushined out of the clearing. "So, where are you going to stay while he is gone?" Tsunade asked her old friend. "What do you mean? I'll stay on the compound. Doesn't he activate the blood seals when he leaves?" Oh crap, I have to catch him. Jiraiya vanished. Naruto was in his room packing for the mission. Ever since he became proficient with sealing, he never brought a pack. Everything was in scrolls. He would organize everything into different scrolls, and then seal them all into one bigger scroll and carry that with him. That was the bonus of the vest that Jiraiya had given him. There were plenty of scroll pouches. He was just about done when Jiraiya knocked on the door. You know you don't have to do that if I am alone. He replied, you mean I don't ever since Yuri-san? Always a pervert? Naruto sighed. What cha need daifu? You just need to embrace your inner pervertedness. You are a man, you think that way, I know you do. But anyway, are you going to activate the seals while you are gone? Yeah, I was. Naruto replied. That's fine. I need to check on the network and do some research. You will probably be home before me. Good luck and tell Yuri-san I said hello. Will do daifu, watch yourself out there. Naruto told the older man. I won't be there to bail your ass out this time if anything goes wrong. And please stay the hell away from Habi and Akatsuki? You do know that I can handle myself, don't you? I mean, who the hell you think taught you everything you know? Don't do that. I know you are more than capable. But I just worry. You are all the family I have left. He stopped as he looked at Jiraiya. Jiraiya looked into his eyes and saw the emotion swimming in them. Naruto had been with him for the last 5 years and was scared to lose him. Understandable after everything. I will. See you soon. You know how to reach me if you need me. Jiraiya said. Same here. Naruto turned and made his way out of the room. He had a stop to make as he waited for Jiraiya to gather some things. Naruto walked to the small temple that he and Kakashi had built. He sat down in front of the memorial and began his meditation. During this time, he felt like his parents were there even more. When he sat there in silence, he thought that he could hear them whispering in his ear. But it was always just a warm breeze. He felt as Jiraiya Chakra's signature left the compound. He finished his prayer and stood up. He stretched and made his way out of the compound. He activated the seals and shushined out the front gate. Sakura was waiting on the two men. Naruto made it next, and thankfully, Kakashi was on time. They began their trek to the village hidden in the mist. Naruto found himself traveling with a smile on his face. He was excited to be returning to the mist. Their trip to the mist was somewhat boring. There were no problems on the way. Being ninja, they were able to travel quicker due to their high levels of speed. They made it to the shipping docks in a third of the time that it would take a civilian. They paid for their tickets onto the ferry barge and boarded. The ride across was just as boring and uneventful as the trek on foot. It had taken them 3 days to reach the outside of the village. Naruto knew how they operated in the mist. There was an area where they would be watched and followed. Then they would be stopped and dealt with accordingly. But he had no idea who might be on guard. But there was one thing that could always be counted on. And that was the mist. Sakura, Kakashi, be on guard. Remember, we are ambassadors right now. Naruto said the last part louder, as if it were to be overheard by anyone who might be following them. They too tensed a bit and nodded. As they closed in on the gates of the city, the mist began to thicken. Kakashi looked around as did Sakura. I remember this mist, Zabuza used this mist. Sakura said. Not exactly. Naruto said. He was trying to get a feel of who was on their trail and how many. He could only pick up one signature and he smirked. He was looking around for the ninja. This is a bit different than that of Zabuza, it's thicker. As they continued on they were stopped by a chilling voice. It was a light voice, possibly a female voice. But even though it was a light voice, it was still a very chilling voice. There are 8 targets: throat, spinal column, lungs, liver, the jugular vein, the subclavian artery, kidney, the heart. A chilling laugh was heard. So many to choose from, what to do? That was what he said. Almost word for word. What's going on? Sakura said, he voice laced with fear. She remembered that mist and not being able to see who was speaking or where they would strike. Sakura, be calm. Kakashi told her. I think, if I had to choose, I'd say, the heart. Naruto replied out loud. Oh really? The voice replied out of the mist. So be it, Naru-kun. They heard the sound of movement, followed by a thud. They stiffened because they still didn't know what was going on. The mist began to lift and Sakura and Kakashi searched around for the blonde. They saw him on the ground, pinned by a mysterious kunoichi who obviously belonged to the chilling voice. The ninja was holding a short sword right over Naruto's heart. The mist was almost completely gone. The remaining two-leaf ninja relaxed a great deal when they saw the famous fox-like grin on his face as he gazed up at the female on his chest. She was beautiful to say the least. She had long, silvery white hair that was in a loose braid, draped over her shoulder. The color of her hair contrasted her tanned skin. She was a medium height with a lean build. Just by her look you could tell that she was light on her feet. She was clad in gear that looked similar to the Anbu of the leaf, except her hands were taped all the way to her elbows with black tape. Yuri-chan, you really should put that away before you hurt someone. Well, a leaf hite 8? Naruto-kun, what have you been up to since your last visit? All in good time, Yuri-chan, now please, can you let me up? Naruto asked nicely. Not until you pay the toll, she giggled as she leaned down and kissed Naruto on the lips. She bent down to his ear and whispered, I really missed you. She stood and placed her short sword back in its scabbard that rested on her low back. She held her hand out to Naruto. He took it and hopped up with ease. Yuri turned and looked at Sakura and Kakashi. She examined them, showing no emotion. She walked up to the two-leaf shinobi. It was like her crystal ice blue eyes were looking into their soul. They started to get a little nervous the closer she got. She stopped short of 3 feet in front of them and then gave them a smile worthy of Naruto. Good to meet you, Sakura-san and Kakashi-san. I have heard so much about you both. Sakura, relieved that she was nice, offered her smile. Yuri-san, good to meet you too. Naruto did try to talk about you, but he kind of got tongue-tied. Sakura said, he was right, you don't seem like the kind of person I would want to piss off. Kakashi said as he crinkled his eye to show his smile. Hey, did I mention that she was trained as an assassin by none other than Zabuza Momochi? Naruto-kun, don't tell everyone that. They are supposed to look at me and not know that. Yuri-chan, I told you we fought your old sensei, that whole 8 targets, what to do, Big gave it away, they would have asked. I know Sakura-chan was thinking it. Yuri turned to face Sakura with an inquisitive look on her face. I wanted to, I just had to think of a way to ask. But thankfully Naruto still has a big mouth from time to time, saved me the trouble. That he does. Yuri looked up at him and smiled. But now to my task at hand. Her smile faded and a serious look replaced it. Please state your name and business here in Kirigakure. We are Konohagakure Ninja, acting as ambassadors on the behalf of the Godem Hokage. We request an audience with the Mizukage in order to present him with these documents, in hopes of starting negotiations for an alliance between Kiri and Konoha. Kakashi said. Yuri nodded. Hi, follow me, ambassadors. I will bring you to Mizukage-sama. Yuri guided them through the mist the rest of the way. When they reached the gate they were greeted by 2 more ninja who were standing guard. The 2 mist guards bowed to Yuri. Yuri-sama, what is the nature of your guest's visit? The first guard asked. They are here for an audience with Mizukage-sama. I will escort them. Please have someone take over my watch. I think IG-sama will be available. Hi, Yuri-sama, the guard said before he bowed and sent for IG. This way please, Yuri said. Naruto, Sakura and Kakashi followed her through the village. She was very popular and well known in the village. People would nod and say hello to her, but no one approached her because they knew she was on duty. It was in the way she presented herself. She looked kind yet tough, friendly yet you knew not to cross her. As they reached the Mizukage's tower, the number of ninja had drastically increased. It seemed to the Leaf Ninja that the people in the mist didn't want to take the chance of anything happening to their leader. It seemed like something might have happened. Yuri-san, is security usually this high around the tower? Sakura asked as she tried not to bump into people. No, not normally this high. There was a recent incident. But as a shinobi from another village, I am not allowed to speak of it with you. Please don't think me rude, but I must follow orders. She replied. I understand completely. My curiosity just gets the better of me sometime. I apologize for asking, Sakura said. There is no need for that, Sakura-san. I would have done the same. Yuri said as she continued on through the tower with the others in tow. Here we are the level of the Mizukage's office. Due to recent events, we ask that you allow us to search you. Certainly, Yuri-san, Kakashi said. Normally, none of them would agree to being searched. It seemed to be a lack of trust, but being there mainly as an ambassador, they agreed. Once they were cleared, Yuri brought them down the hall and had them sit. I will speak with Mizukage-sama and let him know that you are here. Please wait here for my return. She looked at Naruto. Please do not roam, it wouldn't be wise. Naruto looked at her and pretended to be hurt. She gave him a pleading look and he sighed. We shall await you right here, he said with a small smile. Thank you. She turned and entered the office. As the three sat there, they watched as many guards roamed the halls. They couldn't help but wonder what had happened. Obviously it was huge, possibly an attack against the Mizukage. Maybe they would find out from the Mizukage when they spoke with him. Yuri came out of the office after about 10 minutes. She motioned for them to follow her into the office. Naruto, Kakashi and Sakura entered to office of the Mizukage and they bowed. Mizukage-sama, thank you for seeing us, Naruto said as he stepped forward. We are here as ambassadors on behalf of the Godem Hokage, Lady Tsunade. I have some documents from her. She is wishing to begin negotiations with you and your village. She wishes to have Kiri as allies, both economically and strategically. The Mizukage looked at the three shinobi standing in front of him. His eyes then fell upon Naruto. He studied the young man's features very carefully. You, the ninja who just spoke, you look very familiar. What is your name? The Mizukage asked. Naruto bowed again. Mizukage-sama, I am Naruto Namikaze. Namikaze? I thought the Namikaze name to be a thing of the past. How is it that you are a Namikaze? My father was a Namikaze, Mizukage-sama. He was the Yondaime of the Leaf. Minato Namikaze was your father? How can that be? He, his wife and his child are dead. It is common knowledge that they died when the Kyuubi attacked your village. Mizukage-sama, if you would forgive an old man's stories. Sarutobi-sama said that I died as well to protect me from those who hated my father. I only found out 5 years ago. But I promise you that I am a Namikaze. The Leaf has recognized it. Well then, I am honored to have you here. I have also heard of you as you were named before, as Uzumaki. Just because you may think that I was unaware of you being in my village before does not mean that it is true. The Mizukage told the young man. Now then, Yuri, please give me the documents. Hi, Mizukage-sama, Yuri said as she walked over to Naruto and accepted the documents. After placing them on his desk, she bowed and returned to her spot. Namikaze-san, please do not take offense, but I have to be careful. A missing nin recently tried to assassinate me. Thanks to Yuri-san, he was unsuccessful. No offense taken. It was lucky that you have such talented kunoichi to protect you, Mizukage-sama. That we are. I will read these documents and get back with you in 3 days. Is that acceptable for Hokage-sama? Hi, it is. We shall await your summons. Naruto said with respect. Please, make yourselves at home here in Kiri. I will have a hotel arranged for you three. If there is anything that you need, please let Yuri know. She will be your guide for your visit. You are most gracious, Mizukage-sama, Sakura said with a smile and a bow. Yuri, please show them to the hotel. Your guard duty will be taken care of while the Leaf ambassadors are here. The Mizukage said. You are dismissed. The 4 ninja bowed and followed Yuri out of the room. Once she was told that she was to be their guide, she relaxed. Even though she was still on duty, she had no need to be on high alert. She led them to one of the nicest hotels in the village. This is the hotel that Mizukage-sama reserves for his guests. They will take good care of you here, Yuri explained. Yuri and the 3 Leaf Ninja walked up to the front desk. The lady behind the desk greeted them with a warm smile. Welcome. If Yuri-san is with you, then you must be guests of the Mizukage. Hi, Iku-san. They are here as ambassadors from Konoha. Yuri said. We are very pleased to have you here. We will have 3 of our rooms ready for you in no time. Please, 2 rooms will do just fine. Naruto and I can share. He gave Naruto a sly semi-perverted look. We do not want to take advantage of the Mizukage's generosity. Kakashi said. Hi, 2 rooms then. Please, give us at least an hour to prepare everything. I am Iku. If you need anything, please let me know. She said with a bow. Thank you, Iku-san, we will return later. I wish to show them around town. Yuri said with a smile. Naruto, Sakura and Kakashi followed Yuri once more. She led them through the entire village, showing them the finer parts of the village. Naruto seemed a little bored by it, being as he has been to the mist several times. Kakashi had been to the mist a few times on some missions, so it was nothing new to him either. But Sakura was in awe of how pretty it was. Would the guys mind if we stopped by my house so I can change? If I am going to be hanging out with you guys for 3 days, I would rather be a little more comfortable. Yuri asked. I never turned down a trip to your house. Naruto said with a sly little grin on his face. Not now, Naru. She fussed him as she playfully punched him in the arm. Kakashi walked up to Naruto, keeping his nose in his book. He gave a little giggle and elbowed Naruto in the side. So, Naruto, will I be enjoying that nice hotel room alone? Kakashi whispered. You know that is why I asked for 2 rooms instead of 3. I thought yours might be empty. Not if she hears you, and then you will be in a hospital because Sakura-chan wouldn't even be able to heal you. Did Ero Daifu not warn you? Naruto questioned. About what? Kakashi asked. Just watch, Naruto said. Yuri-chan, Jiraiya sends his best. He told me to tell you hi. That perverted old man? I'm sure he said something else. When the hell will he ever learn? Yuri yelled. She continued to mumble about perverts. She hates perverts, and Icha, she hasn't said anything to you yet. She's being nice since you are considered an ambassador. Kakashi nodded and put away his book. Duly noted. They made it to her house quickly. She preferred to live on the outskirts of town. Her house was small but cozy. And the light mist that surrounded it gave it a fairy tale-like quality. She ushered them in and shut the door. I will be just a moment. Please have a seat and make yourselves comfortable. Yuri said as she disappeared off to the right. She came back out a few minutes later and didn't look all that much different than before. Her idea of more comfortable was to take off her lightly armored body vest and replace it with a long-sleeve mesh shirt. She still had her black tank on under it, and instead of tighter-fitting pants, she now opted for looser black ninja pants. She still had some of her ninja gear though. So all you did was put on different ninja gear and lose the short sword? Kakashi said without thinking. Yay, is there something wrong with that, Kakashi-san? Yuri said in a serious tone. No, that is perfectly alright. I thought so. And besides, I never go anywhere without my sword. I just sealed it away so it wouldn't be in the way. See, comfort. Yuri said with a big smile. Yuri showed them all around the village. The whole time her and Naruto talked and caught up about what they had been up to in the last few months. The two would tell them stories of when Naruto came into town. The 4 of them had a nice time. The sight of them together made Sakura and Kakashi happy. They were glad that Naruto had found someone who obviously cared about him and didn't hate him for what he was. After spending a whole night and the next day with Sakura and Kakashi, Naruto and Yuri were dying to spend time together, just the 2 of them. It wasn't even to be together in that sense, but there was a way that they were when they were alone that was just one of the most comforting things. They could sit in the same room and not say a word, but they were at peace. It was amazing how they connected. Hey, Sakura-chan, Kakashi? Would it be alright with you two if Yuri and I were able to spend some time together, alone? Naruto asked. Alone? Kakashi asked with a raised eyebrow. Yuri picked up on the perverted nature of what was just said. She turned quickly around and was almost nose to nose with the Jonin. Excuse me, Kakashi-san, but if I didn't know any better, I would say that you have Jiraiya-like tendencies, which could be very dangerous to your health. Yuri said in a dangerous tone. Kakashi swallowed hard. He was trying to rein in his reaction to the massive amount of killer intent that was leaking off of the lean kunoichi that was standing in front of him. Sakura watched in amazement as the women seemed to hold this power of Kakashi and apparently Jiraiya as well. Yuri-san, please excuse Kakashi and his mouth. He doesn't realize that it could be the death of him one of these days. We understand that you two haven't seen each other in a while and would like to be alone. Enjoy the night, Sakura said with a bow. Thank you, Sakura-san, Yuri replied. Yes, thank you, Sakura-chan, Naruto said with one of his huge smiles. Naruto walked over to Yuri and placed his arm around her shoulder as they walked off, leaving Kakashi and Sakura alone. She looked at her sensei. You know, for someone as smart as you are really stupid sometimes. Sakura said while shaking her head. My dear Sakura, I have no idea what you mean by that statement. Kakashi retorted. He was trying to act like the little conversation never happened. Oh, shut up. You can at least pay for dinner. She snapped. And why would I do that? He asked. Because you owe me. If I wouldn't have stepped in, you'd be in the hospital because of Yuri-san. Sakura said. Now come on, I'm hungry. Kakashi, knowing that there was no way to get out of this because in fact, he did owe her. He sighed and followed Sakura as she walked to a restaurant. He started to think about Naruto. He sighed out loud and caught Sakura's attention. "What's the matter now?" Sakura asked. "I was just thinking, you know how they say that a man will find someone that is like their mother?" "Sure, I guess, but I really have no idea what you are talking about." Well, Naruto may have never known his mother, but he sure did pick a woman who would make Kushina proud. Kakashi replied in a lazy manner. "They will definitely be the next Minato and Kushina." "Kakashi-sensei, you knew his parents?" "Yes, very well. His father was my sensei. And his mother, well, she was like a surrogate to me. I've always wondered what his parents were like. Well, they were good people, really good people." Yuri and Naruto made it back to her little house. Once they walked in and shut the door, Yuri spun around so fast and launched herself into Naruto's arms. He embraced her tightly. "Yuri-chan, are you okay?" "I am now. I have really just missed you so much. I wish that we were in the same village. I hate when you are away. I know that you can more than handle yourself, but I just worry that you might never come back." He pulled away a little so he could see her face. "Why would I not come back?" he asked. "I don't know, something could happen to you, or you just might forget me." "Yuri-chan, I could never forget you. You are the reason I fight so hard, so I can come back to you." "Really? Really, really?" He picked her up and hugged her tighter. They stood there for a minute, content to be in each other's arms, until a loud familiar noise broke the silence. Naruto's stomach let out a giant growl. "Naruto-kun, hungry? Maybe just a little," he answered with an ear-to-ear grin. "Take out? Sure, as long as it's not ramen." "Ah, but Yuri-chan." She looked him in the eye and wiggled her index finger at him. "Don't whine, it's unbecoming Namikaze-sama," she said with a hint of playfulness and seduction. Naruto eyed her up and down with a huge smirk on his face. He knew where it was leading, and this was always fun. "Can you ever forgive me, Yuri-chan?" he said back with the same attitude. "I don't know, maybe. What's in it for me?" she said. Her smile was beginning to rival Naruto's. "Oh, don't play stupid, you know what's in it for you." She stopped for a minute when a bewildered look consumed her face. She crossed her arms and tapped a finger on her chin as if pondering what it could be. Will you give me a back rub?" she asked innocently. "No," he said. "And why not?" she said defensively. "You know you never let me rub your back," he said matter-of-factually. "True, very true." She walked up to him. She loved the way his eyes soaked in everything. She loved when he watched her, taking in the way her hips swished from side to side. She ran her hands up his stomach and settled them around his neck. She drew herself into his neck and inhaled his scent. She lightly exhaled and felt him shiver as the hot air from her mouth made contact with his skin. Yuri brought her hands down around the front of his black vest. She unzipped it slowly, never breaking eye contact. As it hit the floor, she pecked him on the lips. When she pulled back, she licked her lips and smirked. "But I do let you rub other things." He reached his arms around her and pulled her close. His hands roaming up and down her back lightly, the whole time sending shivers down her spine. His hands made one more pass down her back and settled on her butt. One hand on each side, he grabbed her by the butt and picked her up. She threw her legs around his waist and grabbed onto his neck. Yuri straightened her back, thrusting her breasts into Naruto's face. He tried to capitalize on the moment and nuzzled his head in between them. As soon as he responded, she shied away. He looked up into her crystal ice blue eyes. They could both see the desire burning in the other's eyes. "But Naruto-kun, I thought you were hungry," she said, feigning concern. She knew she had him, hook, line and sinker. She looked deep into his blue eyes and bit her lip. That was the one move that threw him over the edge. "Oh, but Yuri-chan, I can always eat you," he said with a devilish smirk on his face. She squealed with excitement as he carried her into the bedroom. He kicked the door shut and threw her on the bed. He got on all fours and crawled over her. He locked lips with her as they struggled for dominance over each other. Naruto ended up on his back. He wiggled up to the head of the bed, put his head on the pillows and then laced his fingers together behind his head. Yuri started to pout. "But Naru, you said. Don't whine, you'll get what you want, but first, strip, now." After wearing each other out, they stayed there in bed. Both naked bodies touching. Yuri's head was on Naruto's chest, rising and falling with his breathing. Naruto lay there, with a look of contentment on his face, thinking about Yuri as he played with her hair. "Naruto, I'm worried. Yuri-chan, There is nothing to be worried about. I won't forget you. As happy as I am that you won't, that's not what has me worried. What's wrong? I can't say for sure, it's just something that I feel. Something in my bones. Something big is going to happen. I just know it, Yuri said with a serious concern. What do you mean? I know that I shouldn't tell you this, but it concerns you too. Even the Leaf, the Mizukage, was very vague on saying anything about the missing nin that tried to kill him. You know him? Uchiha? No, but good as. He was my old teammate, not yours. Suigetsu. Yes. I don't know what they are planning, no one knows. But I do know that Lady Tsunade pick a good time to offer an alliance. I don't think Mizukage-sama will turn it down. He knows about the Uchiha's defection. He knows that we can join together to make this end. And it will. I will stop him this time. That's what worries me. I know how you feel about the Uchiha. I feel the same way, you know that. On some levels we are so alike. We have felt some of the same things. We have both lost a teammate that was like our brother, but when this is all said and done, there is one thing that I refuse to lose. What's that? He asked even though he knew the answer. Because if he was asked that same question, his answer would be the same. Yuri has always been the strong type. There wasn't much that could tear down her defenses. If there was one person who could do that, it was Naruto. She looked at him as tears began to flow down her face. Naruto wiped them away. Yuri, you won't lose me. I'm not going to leave you like that. How can you say that? We are ninja, that's not a promise you can make. Yes it is. How? How can you make a promise like that? It's simple, it's because I love you. Yuri was stunned. Even though they both knew how they felt, neither of them had said it before. And Naruto had just said it. She felt as if her heart was going to leap out of her chest. She gazed at the man that was holding her. I love you too, Naru. I've waited a while to say that, and it felt good. She hugged him tight again. She put her head back on his chest. Once again, that noise broke the silence. It was like his stomach waited for these moments so it could ruin them. He started to laugh. She looked at him and joined him in laughing. How about that take out now? He asked with a cheesy grin. Sure thing Naru, I'll be back. Yuri smiled as she kissed him on the head. Naruto and Yuri laid together in the bed. Naruto was convinced that when she slept by his side that was the best sleep ever. He felt at ease having her next to him. Yuri, of course, would argue the same thing, but for different reasons. Not only did Naruto become the human equivalent of a teddy bear, but he was always warm. And nights in the mist could get chilly. As always, Naruto began to stir first. He looked down to see Yuri nuzzled up next to him with her head on his chest. He smiled as he watched her sleep. Not wanting to disturb her, he made a clone and quietly ordered it to go begin breakfast. It wasn't long before the smells of breakfast started to make its way into the bedroom. He watched as Yuri began to move slowly. Her nose scrunched as she smelled for coffee. I see you. I know that you are up, Yuri-chan. No, I'm not. I don't smell coffee, she said as she shook her head vigorously. Just as she said that, a clone walked in the bedroom and handed her a cup. The food is ready. And with that being said, the clone disappeared. Naru-kun, you really shouldn't create clones when you are naked. And why not? I really didn't think that you would mind, he said with a big grin. She continued to sip on her coffee. Well, it does me no good to tell them to put on clothes when I do. I swear, it's like sometimes I really don't even understand my own clones. They don't behave like other people's clones. Yuri stood up and the covers slid off of her, revealing her naked body. She could feel his eyes on her body as she walked across the room. When she reached the door, she removed a large shirt from the back of the door. After successfully putting it on, she turned to him. Naru, please, it's like you forget that it is you who are different from everybody else, my love. She said tenderly. Now, I'm hungry. Let's eat before my stomach starts making noises like yours. Naruto got up and followed her after putting on his pants. He joined her in the kitchen and they ate breakfast in silence. Once breakfast was over and the kitchen was cleaned, they decided it was time to get ready. Naruto showered first and was dressed quickly after. Yuri was right behind him with a quick shower. He sat there amazed at how fast she was. She had finished dressing and was now looking at him oddly. What's wrong? What are you looking at me like that? Yuri questioned. Nothing is wrong, Yuri-chan. I'm just thinking how lucky I am to have a woman like you. You shower and dress faster than some guys. Naruto replied. And that's a good thing? Hell yeah. The women of Konoha could take a lesson from you. Especially Sakura. Sheesh, she used to take forever getting ready for missions. Always had to look good for the damn Uchiha. Naruto started to mumble. Bitter are we? She asked. Naruto stopped and looked up at her. Good, 'cause if I didn't know any better I would think that you might still have a thing for her. Naruto paled. He didn't want her to think such things because they were the furthest from the truth. No, I don't. That was the past. When I met you, it was like Sakura who. Naruto said seriously. Yay, you better kiss ass, but that's a good thing. 'Cause now I don't have to kill her. Naruto looked up at her. You see, that's why I love you, Yuri-chan. You take everything in stride. Kind of have to when dealing with you, don't I? And why is that? You are too damn random at times. Makes you learn to roll with the punches, you know. Naruto smiled as he walked up to her. He wrapped his arms around her and pulled her into a kiss. Hey, don't you have some vacation time coming up? He asked. Yeah, why? Because I want you to come to Konoha. I want you to see my house and meet my friends. Oh, meet the friends? Isn't that something you do with a girlfriend? Show her off? Sure is. And I can't wait to show you off. He pulled her super tight and whispered in her ear. I know that it is harder because we are so far away, but I do want you in my life. And I want to date only you. And I want you to date only me. Is that okay with you? She looked into his bright blue eyes. She held his gaze and smiled. It is perfect. It's only been you, ever since our first date. Really? Me too. They leaned in to kiss each other. When their lips were just about to touch, they were interrupted by a loud knocking at the door. They both cracked an eye and looked at the door. They heard nothing, so they tried to finish their kiss. There it was again. This time, the knocking was louder and faster. Yuri spun on her heel and headed for the door. She flung it open to see an official messenger from the Mizukage. What is it, Tsukai-san? Please forgive the interruption of your morning, Yuri-san. But Mizukage-sama wishes for you and your guests to come to the tower as quickly as you can. Hi, return to Mizukage-sama and tell him that we are on our way. Hi, Yuri-san. And with that, the messenger shushined out of her yard. Why didn't you ask if they talked to Sakura and Kakashi? Naruto asked. Because, I didn't want him to know that you were alone with me. They would start to ask too many questions. Can they not know that we are together? It's not that. I just don't know for sure how the Mizukage is going to reply to the alliance with Konoha. I think that he will take it, but I don't want him to think that I am pushing for it either way. I want to seem neutral in the matter. If he thought that I was partial, then it might not go so smoothly. That's all. As soon as we know something. I don't really care who sees or knows about us. What if he told you that you couldn't see me? Naru-kun, don't think like that. As long as it is not harmful to the mist, he should not care what I do. I know that I shouldn't think like this, but every time I have something good in my life, it seems to be taken from me. And I don't want that happening with us. Would you do anything to be with me? It took a moment for her to understand what he meant. It was true, he had a hard life and people never tried to understand him. In her, he found someone who wanted to know everything about him and someone who loved him no matter what he was or what people thought he was. And she knew in her heart that he would never leave her no matter what. She softened. Anything, Naru-kun. She smiled. He exhaled a breath. He didn't even realize that he was holding his breath. He smiled at her. He closed his eyes and bowed his head to her. Thank you for loving me, Yuri-chan. He lifted his head and his face changed. Now then, let's find the others and meet the Mizukage. I am anxious to hear what he has to say. Yuri nodded and they both left her house and went out in search of Sakura and Kakashi. They found them finishing up breakfast at a small restaurant. Hey you two, the Mizukage has sent for us. Naruto said as he waved to them. Wow, that was sooner than he stated. I guess there wasn't much for him to think through. Sakura said, I just hope we can go home. Kakashi said lazily. Why are you so anxious to leave the mist, Kakashi-san? Yuri asked. Because my wallet can't take too much more of Sakura conning meals out of me. Kakashi may have seemed like he was off guard, but he was able to brilliantly dodge the plate that Sakura sent at his head. Now, that wasn't very nice, Sakura. If I didn't know any better I would say that you were trying to kill me. You think? She said. Her face was so red. Her pink hair almost seemed paled in comparison. Excuse me, but Mizukage-sama is waiting. Can you please finish this later? Yuri said, clearly she was becoming annoyed. Sorry. Sakura and Kakashi replied at the same time. Neither one of them wanted to make her angry when she used her on-duty ninja voice. Sakura pushed away from table and stood up. Reaching in her back pouch, she pulled out some money and left it on the table. "Here Kakashi-sensei, my treat," she said as she walked away from the table to stand with Naruto and Yuri. Kakashi sighed and stood to follow. Why are women such a pain? He thought to himself. He knew better than to say something like that out loud. Silently the four made their way to the cage's tower. When they reached the office, they were ushered in being as the Mizukage was waiting on them to arrive. "Ah, Yuri-san, and ambassadors of the Leaf. Have you enjoyed your stay here in the mist?" the Mizukage asked. "Hi, Mizukage-sama. As always, the mist has been most enjoyable and beautiful." Naruto bowed. "Thank you for your generosity, Mizukage-sama. Your village is amazing and the villagers have been pleasant," Sakura said. "Hi, it has been most relaxing to be in the mist, Mizukage-sama." "Thank you." Kakashi's one eye crinkled as he bowed. Good, good. I am happy to hear it. I know I have called you four back sooner than I originally said, but I feel that we need to get this alliance underway." He motioned to the 4 seats that were in place in front of his desk. "Please, all of you have a seat." The 4 sat down. Yuri looked at the Mizukage. He could see the look of confusion on her face. "Please, Yuri-san, be patient and I will explain why you are here as well. I have looked over the documents sent from Hokage-sama, and for the most part, I am very pleased with the way that they are set up. I am sending these documents back with you to give back to the Hokage. There is only one thing that I wish to add to this alliance. I know that it is hard for 2 leaders to get together, so therefore I wish us to set up an official ambassador from both of our villages in order to relay information on behalf of the other. That is where Yuri-san comes in." "Me?" Yuri asked. "Yes, Yuri-san. I am appointing you to the position. You are to travel back with Naruto, Kakashi and Sakura and meet with the Hokage on my behalf. You are a talented kunoichi and I trust you very much. Plus, you have first-hand knowledge when dealing with our biggest threat for the time. And being as these 3 are in the same boat as you, when you reach the Leaf, you are to discuss it with these 3 and the Hokage." "Excuse me, Mizukage-sama? How are we in the same boat as Yuri-san?" Kakashi asked. "Once you reach your home, she will brief you on the entire situation. I feel that since it is something that affects the 2 of our villages, that as our first act as allies should be to bring down Team Hubby." "It has to do with Sasuke?" Sakura asked. "Not now, Sakura. Once we reach home, Yuri-chan will tell us everything. We should not press the issue here," Naruto said. "Hi, you are right. Please forgive me, Mizukage-sama. Sometimes the past is hard to forget," Sakura said as she cast her eyes at her feet. "No need to forgive. Trust me, we understand completely. It is hard to forget a past that has a way of throwing itself at you all the time," the Mizukage said with a sad smile. "Now if you please excuse Yuri-san and I need to speak with her alone. She will be ready to meet you in an hour." "Hi, Mizukage-sama," Kakashi said for the others. The 3 stood and bowed. They made their way to the hotel to pack. Yuri turned to look at the Mizukage. She sat back down in her chair. "What are the details, Mizukage-sama?" she asked. "Ah, Yuri-hime, there is no need for formalities now, there is no one here except us," he said. "I'm sorry, uncle. Habit, what do you wish to speak to me about?" "That boy, Naruto, he called you Yuri-chan," her uncle stated. "Hi uncle, you don't miss anything do you?" she asked. She looked up at her uncle as if trying to read his next words. "Is there a problem with it? You know that I worry about you. I promised my sister and her husband that I would care for you like my own. I just wish to know the nature of the relationship, that is all. You are a grown woman? I cannot make you do anything. Even as Mizukage, I am still your uncle. We are together. We have been seeing each other for 4 years. But being as we are both ninja and from other villages, we never made anything official, until now," she said, hopeful that he would understand. "Then I have 2 questions for you. Do you love him? And are you happy?" "Hi. I love him and he makes me happy. I never thought I would find a love like this. I didn't think it was possible for a ninja to find love with another ninja. As long as you are happy, Yuri-hime, then I am happy," the Mizukage said with a smile. "Your happiness is what I want. Thank you, uncle. I am worried about you in my absence. What if he comes back? There is no need for worry. There are others who can protect me, and let's not forget. I was made Mizukage for a reason. I am able. Now tell me, what do you think of the alliance? I think it is a long time coming. An alliance with the Leaf will greatly help the Mist. Plus, we can both rid ourselves of the past. This is something that has to be done. if either of our villages wish to live in peace. Ah, that is my Yuriheim. You have wisdom beyond your years, my dear. I know you will be safe. Hurry back as soon as you can with word from the Hokage. It is like you say, we have things to do.
That's all for now. If you want to see next part, then please like this video and subscribe my channel. Thank you.